Happy Sunday, SMITE fans. You're watching the SCC Slaughter Squadron versus Gone to Tahiti. Of course, this is a North American matchup. Very important for both of these teams to start to get some momentum. Dulcin here, Gormizer with me, though, to Sherpa me through the SCC. Gore, how you doing on this fine Sunday?
I'm doing great. I'm having trouble now switching my brain back into SCC. The last song that was coming on sounded like it was about to set up something epic, and then it left me on a cliffhanger. I don't know. What's the last hope? I need to know, Dave.
Right, one last hope for the Earth, and then
it's
we
Sunday.
cut out. It was awesome.
I can't be left like this.
I agree. It was talking about one last hope for the Earth or whatever it was, and then ripped us away at the final moment. Let's see what the schedule looks like, though, for this week in the SCC. We're over in North America, of course. The bottom half of your screen there. Slaughter Squadron versus Gone to Tahiti is what we are showing now. And then after broadcast, after the SPL, Winter Dogs versus Slaughter Squadron again. Hugs and Kisses, what a name, versus Get a Grip to round out the SCC. Let's see how important this matchup is, though, Gore. Slaughter Squadron versus Gone to Tahiti in the lower half of the bracket here. Both of them 0-1.
That's, Hugs and Kisses and Get a Grip are the ones that kind of catch me, I think, out of anything. Winter Dogs is a good name, but those two just sound like advice you would get, like, you need some hugs and kisses,
right.
But also just get a grip, man. Like, it's a Sunday. Stop being stressed about the song that was going on. Instead, focus on your job. And like you mentioned,
right.
These two teams that are maybe having a little bit of trouble getting themselves on the top. Of course, we've only been going for a little bit now, so it is still time to get your feet on the ground and start running with it. And it's kind of interesting because Gone to Tahiti has been this is kind of forced down here in North America. I mean, they've been able to show up and cause a lot of trouble. A lot of players, again, who have been around this level for a long time playing and kind of being the upset for maybe some of the top teams. Now that Baskin and the boys isn't there, I actually kind of thought Gone to Tahiti was going to maybe kind of scoop in and pick up some of, I guess, wherever the scraps were from that.
Right.
But I think Slaughter Squadron, which is a name that I feel like I was casting when I first started casting SMITE, there was a Slaughter Squadron. I feel like it's been here for 5+ years now, right? And so it's been going for a long time. I feel like this team has just enough of that essence to be able to come in and make this one really competitive.
Maybe Slaughter Squadron are that one final hope that's just been here for years in the SCC. Picks and bans, though. Gore, picks and bans here in the SCC level, very interesting in my opinion, that we start to see the shift of a meta from the SPL and what teams prioritize differently. I think the jungle comes to mind, a lot of differentiating picks in the jungle from the SCC level up to the SPLs. Anything notable in that kind of category stand out to you?
I'm actually interested to see. Thoth was one of these gods that I think we started to see more realistically in the challenger circuit that kind of got picked up towards the top. And so I want to know, like, where these teams are going. Like, so far, everything seems to be the same. I think we're going to be looking towards the supports and the junglers as always, just because of the fact that they have a very big impact on it. But the minute I see Kuzenbo, and specifically when I look over, I see names like, Mineral on one side versus Sybil on the other. I know that Mineral specifically is someone that I think could get aggressive and cause some trouble for him. I'm actually excited to see what these tank players are going to be able to do.
Agreed. I think, Yamoja still comes to mind in my opinion. She has not been banned out yet. We have, and you kind of look towards the SPL level again. There are some teams that just sort of realize that they don't have that Yamoja in the back pocket, and they kind of forego her or ban her away from the enemy team. Now we're going to start to figure that out here at the SCC level as well. She is quite strong. And I think if you've got a Yamoja, you need to play a Yamoja. Yeah. And as you see fit here, GTT will lock her in first.
And I'm going to give the other half of that, right? Like, if you've got a Yamoja, you need to lock in the Yamoja. And if you don't have a Yamoja, what are you doing? Like, at this point, like, she's been the best support for the year. Like, just go in and learn your Yamojas finally. There's no excuse, I think, in October to not be able to play this god, because if she is available, she changes everything. Riptide, an incredibly potent ability if you can place it. We've seen it, specifically Ghost PBM, I think comes to mind the most, but a lot of the Pro League players, and even some down here in the Challenger circuit, know where to place those to just be an absolute nuisance to the enemy team. You can combo that with your ult to just make it so there is literally no escape. I think she brings so much to the table, and that was just locking you in. That doesn't even include the stun, the heal, the lane push that she has at the beginning of the game. There's so much that she brings. And again, at this point, it's October. Go learn Yamoja. If you don't know Yamoja and you're a support player, do it now, right? Just stop. Yeah. Well, don't stop watching. Put us on another monitor or put us on in the background, and then keep playing your Yamoja.
Well, it's a perfect scenario where you can watch an SCC player play her, and then you can also be trying to simulate that on your screen as well. So I agree, maybe switch to your right monitor and continue to watch us over on the other one. Now, an interesting point here, Gore. We see the Sun Wukong locked in, the Cthulhu as well, but both of those normally go into the same role. What do you think is going on here with Cthulhu and the Sun Wukong both locked in?
All right, so I would argue that, well, okay, now I'm going to have to reconfigure
What's going
what I was
on?
going to say. I was going to argue
Support
that
solo
Wukong
jungle?
can probably go into the jungle. I actually, if I had to choose, I want Tsukuyomi in the jungle. I think he's going to fit better there. Although we've seen him flex into solo, I just don't think with the other two there that it's going to work out. I want Cthulhu solo, and I want Wukong support. And this is something I do.
All right.
Maybe it's not something I can really advocate too much because, admittedly, it's not the greatest. I'm going to be upfront about that. But it is something that I think comes with a lot of pressure, right? Yamoja on the other side is going to be able to help clear, especially with Hachiman. You're going to get out cleared pretty easily no matter what hunter you pick up on the side of Slaughter Squadron. I almost called them Salsa Squadron, which is another team from way, way, way back when that also caused a lot of confusion when they played against each other. Either way, Wukong has Jingu Bang, which gives good lane clear, so if you really need to, you can get that to help your hunter out, so you can get somebody that maybe has less early game clear and balance it out. Something like a Freya could actually work really well there. But then you look at it, a slow, that comes with an attack speed slow and good damage on Masters. His Tiger Sun just recently got changed to the point that at level 1, it's the same as it was at level 5, so you actually have really good setup with a really good damaging ability early on. That also comes with your knock-up that comes through. It also comes with bird form. It's one of those things that he's not maybe as set up and support oriented as he was before, but he's really good. Now that Cerberus is on the table,
And look at
I'm
the
going to
bans.
take everything I just said,
Ganesh and Ymir
ball it
banned
on
out.
up and throw it out. I don't know what's going on.
Gone to Tahiti, ban out Ganesh and Ymir as well. So through Cthulhu, Sun Wukong, and Tsukuyomi, Gone to Tahiti figured none of those were going into that support role, so that's something I think to look at as well. Now Cerberus locked in, no idea. Gore, maybe something's come to you.
All right. So,
All right, I'm here.
and this is going without the last pick. I'm trying to get my head together. Cerberus mid, Tsukuyomi jungle still. They're gonna lock in someone else's carry. Wukong support, Cthulhu solo, because Cerberus can scale pretty well. I've seen, and like this is something
That's gonna be another flex.
I experience more often than not in like casual games, but sometimes, look, I'm not a great mid player. I'll come out and say it. I'm garbage when it comes down to it. And I think that Cerberus in all of this scales better. I've been rocked by a Cerberus mid, and so I think it could work. Tsukuyomi ADC set jungle and or vice versa. That has to be the way it works. And then I'm sticking with my guns on this one. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care if I'm not supposed to. I'm sticking with it. I like this squad. I'm voting for it. Just out of
Hey,
spite.
look. Unconventional, that gets my vote every day of the week. We've been trying to decipher the Slaughter Squadron draft. We haven't really gotten to look at Gone to Tahiti after they locked in the Yamoja Erlang Shen. I mean, a little bit more black and white, I think, for GTT's draft.
Yeah.
Erlang Shen likely out of that jungle. Hachiman Gore probably over in the long lane rather than mid, and then you put Kronos in mid.
I would think so, and that's something that we've seen a little bit more specifically out of Sops. He's been perfectly fine taking this Kronos mid. It has been good for them and hurt them at the same time,
right,
depending on the length of the game. I mean, Kronos' passive literally is, the longer this goes on, the stronger you will be. And so, you know, you get a 30-minute game, you're hitting people harder than ever. 15 minutes in, though, you're not really the impact mid player. We'll have to keep our eyes on him, because sometimes he's gotten a really early lead, and that's helped out this Kronos in the mid lane. Sometimes he's gotten bopped really hard, and he's not been able to do too much. And lo and behold, I had to be wrong. I was really hoping it'd be the Wukong support after I laid down the line for it. But I don't know.
Man.
I think this is an interesting comp on the side of Slaughter Squadron, but when I look over and I see Erlang Shen, Hercules, Yamoja, and admittedly to an extent Hachiman, I just have trouble voting against those four. I think Gone to Tahiti got away with a really solid draft. It's going to be up to Nehu and Beniq to really prove what they can do.
Yeah, wait, I forgot that Yamoja was there. She was picked so early on, and so much other confusion happened with the Slaughter Squadron draft.
Busy
We
reading,
forget. Right.
we were reading hieroglyphs on one side and trying to decipher it, where the other side had a very politely, easily read sentence for kindergartners written down.
Right, I mean, I guess I'd argue the only, like, confusion point is that I kind of, my brain kind of ignored the Emoja because that's so obviously support, but then I saw Hercules locked in. We really only ever see him in that support role. Hercules against Cthulhu over in that solo lane, that's an interesting look. Obviously, Hercules can get aggressive early on in that lane, and maybe that's what you need to look to do against this Cthulhu.
Yeah, I actually want to see him just bully him. It's been a while since we've gotten to see Hercules over there. I mean, you just kind of highlighted. If he's locked in, he's over in the long lane almost every single time, guaranteed. Yep. And so Mando Warrior, for once playing a Warrior, I'm excited to see what he can do with that Hercules. He's got good survivability, though. He can kind of take the poke that Cthulhu throws at him, spit on it, and not care. And like you said, he's pretty aggressive. If you get too close to the tower line, you could find a kill.
Well, Sybil nearly dies to the Caltrops down beneath his own Tier 1 tower. It is a red buff invade early on here for Slaughter Squadron. I believe that's got to be the first rotation of those red buffs. So already a touch behind in the mid lane will be Sops, not able to pick up that buff. But look at this action in the mid. Nehu locked down. Oh, and the stun is there. Jingu Bang picks up first blood. Will it be turned around by one more? Potentially, and Fun Crush says yes, 1 for 1, a minute and 45 in.
And I think that's great. Sops, there was one moment, like, again, retrospectively, you know, hindsight's 20/20, where he didn't necessarily need to throw out the stun. It did bring extra damage and guarantee that first blood faster, but then if he had had it a second later, could have either saved himself, honestly, even killed Fun Crush there. But it's just a little sprinkling that comes through. I think you get a good early kill on Kronos. Yeah, you lose your red buff, but right now, you know, you're 2 minutes into the game. This isn't where your power spike is going to be, and this is what Slaughter Squadron need to do in order to control this game, is just make sure Sops takes as long as possible to get to the state that he is when he is late game, because you'll watch it, and this is something he's been doing regularly. We talk when we see something like a Kronos, a Freya, etc., Soul, all of those, that we always end up going to like Ring of Hecate. We talk about Telkine's ring. There's not a lot of rings in Sop's build when he goes mid here. He's already started off with the books. I expect that he's going to kind of continue that route and just be a standard mid lane mage. And because of that, he's still going to find some of those power spikes, you know, around your level 5 when he's able to be a little safer. I think he's going to be able to fight a little bit more often, but he's still Kronos, so you're still waiting, you know, up into the 20-minute mark to see him truly fight. Otherwise, he's just going to bring some utility to the team fight and make the difference there.
Man, Benny Q just starting to bully Diesel a little bit. Stun not there for Mineral, likely would have set up for a kill there had that one connected. So gone to Tahiti over in the long lane, already feeling just a little bit of extra pressure. Gore, you seemed comfortable, or you predicted, I think, the Tsukuyomi ADC pick. That was at least something you had suggested potentially could happen, and we might see it flex its muscles a little bit more here on the red buff invade. We'll see if there's any pushback for Gone to Tahiti before we return to that point, and there will not be, so now the second red buff in a row will fall over to the set mid. What do you think about the Tsukuyomi ADC, though? I mean, obviously you can proc some of those ranged autos, maybe allows you to effectively trade.
I don't think we're going to see more people do it than Benny Q, right? I think Benny Q likes, and this is just something, like, Benny Q likes playing assassins over here. He's done set as a carry before this year. We've seen it a few times. Cyclone Spin has also been someone, like, in the Pro League that has played around with that kind of style and brought assassins over there, but for the most part, he is one of the only players that does it, and he does it well. That's the thing. Like, it's not something I can really talk down against. I don't recommend it, but if you are Benny Q, you are almost always the exception. The thing that surprises me the most is he didn't go Blink first, because that's also something that I kind of expect out of Benny Q. I mean, I'm having flashbacks to his Blink Artemis that has run, and honestly rocked people in the past. Like, there's certain styles of play that I don't think anyone else can handle, and it does bring that extra flavor to Slaughter Squadron, right? I mean, look at this draft. Think of any other team that you know of and try to make this draft work for them, and I really doubt that you're going to find a lineup that can truly make it work, but I do think that the players here that Slaughter Squadron have brought in, I don't know much about their solo laner, but I've seen Fun Crush, I've seen Nehu, I've seen Mineral and Benny Q for a long time, and I know that they can all play these really well, even if it is a little janky.
Yeah, this is a good look, I think, at some off-meta picks. I suppose that's exactly what we were talking about going into picks and bans, on how some of these SEC teams will change things up just a little bit. Haven't gotten much of a look over at the solo lane yet here. Mando Warrior up against the Cthulhu on this Hercules. It is an interesting look, though, Gore, because it's obviously something, the Hercules pick, is obviously something that wants to get involved early, right? I mean, it's all about that early pressure here, and you're going to see a small trade. Ultimate popped by Cascade, but Mando Warrior will walk away just fine. Another red buff invade as well. These teams not giving me a moment to think. That's an ultimate popped by Mineral. Sybil will be pulled back in, but the Riptide gets him out of range just a little bit. Piercing Moonlight sends BennyQ into the fray, but he's got the waves crashing down onto him. He pops the beads here, stays alive. The stun connects only onto Mineral as Jingu Bang rolls his way right back through. Stops doing big damage. Mando's found a kill elsewhere. BennyQ tossed right on through. Fun Crush's got one, but Jingu Bang has one as well. BennyQ on the retreat. Jingu Bang on the re-engage. Nehu dashes away. That might be all she wrote.
Just barely got away, but Jingu Bang absolutely not going to stop there. Still has enough mana that BennyQ, he's still in trouble, especially with that pin.
I say it's all she wrote, but might not be. Caltrops
no, keep going. Go back in there.
Down here. Gore wants Jingu Bang to go, but Jingu Bang will think twice about it. Chaos. It was, what, 1-1 before that, and now suddenly it's 4-2, so Slaughter Squadron Gore a bit behind on the trade. It was really only the solo lane trade that went against Slaughter Squadron earlier on in that fight.
Yeah, realistically,
oh my God,
what I want out of them is, well, this, just hold W. Although maybe a little bit too much W holding, and this is something, look, North America brings the heat when they play in the Challenger circuit, okay? They do not stop. The only person who's not going to get to be, again, as big a part of it is unfortunately Stops. Like, I feel bad for him that he's getting picked on, but you're also Kronos and you're pre-15 minutes. You're going to get picked on. But if he's the only one truly dying for the rest of his team, he's more than fine with it. I think he's going to continue to feel comfortable with this, especially because, again, his utility isn't bad right now. I mean, he's got a good slow into a stun, decent damage that he can come through, using his passive properly as well as timing it around his 2. He's going to be able to find himself either mana regen, kind of refunded from his abilities, or just some healing if he really needs to stay under the tower or anything like that. He's got good sustain for both of his bars over there in mid lane. I like Kronos. He's always been one of my favorite gods. He's always been one of my favorite kits in Smite, even though, man, does it feel like you're trudging through mud for the first 10, 15 minutes because of how slow it is to come online.
Agreed.
Either way, I think just keep your eyes on him because he is going to be an action player within the next 10 minutes.
Something to look out for, and action is all we've had. 8 kills, 8 minutes. 1 kill a minute tends to be a pretty quick pace. And that's exactly what we've got. BennyQ maybe feeling like he could trade out here with Diesel. Won't end up finding that last bit of damage that he was hoping for, maybe to fully re-engage. But look at the Erlang Shen. He's rotating over here towards the long lane. Mineral just a bit behind to this engagement. 9 turns Blessing, ready to go, but a ward will spot out Jingu Bang, and Caltrops will slow him down. Nothing more will come of it.
I really like what Jingu Bang's been able to get done. I mean, 3-0-0, you can't really argue with the stats that come up there, but it is, I think, this Erlang Shen that is making such a big difference for them. You know, a lot of warriors, I don't think, can translate into the jungle as well as Erlang Shen does. In fact, he's honestly better in the jungle than he would be if you toss him over in the solo lane. And I think right now that what we're seeing out of Jingu Bang is just pure setup, right? And he's following up really well.
Right.
I like the fact that he's been able to play aggressively.
Oh, big engage, big piercing Moonlight. Diesel attempting to disengage. Jingu Bang, he's here. He's gotten the kill onto BennyQ, and Mineral will finally finish off Diesel, but look at the rotation from GTT. It's a double kill for Jingu Bang. And unfortunately, Slaughter Squadron only pick up 1.
Well, they do get Diesel, though, and I think slowing down Diesel is going to be fine for them, although he's not really that big a threat right now. I mean, 0, 1, and 2, I'm not looking at him as being the menace. Meanwhile, Mando, I mean, he got that solo kill earlier. He's looking for more.
That Excavate nearly gets the job done, and suddenly Mando full-on retreat. Slaughter Squadron to pick up 1 more as Mando goes down. And Gore, that's something I was looking to bring up earlier, and then, of course, this game being this game, 12 kills now in 10 minutes. Some action broke out. It seems weird. I'm not saying Hercules solo doesn't work, because obviously it can. But isn't that early game when you want this Hercules to have a massive impact? Obviously you get disruption later on, but his damage potential is maybe the highest right off the bat.
I think that's the balance, right? He got that solo kill earlier, which is already good for him, and that's maybe some of that early game. But when you're playing him solo, you really are picking him for the nuisance, I guess, that is late game Hercules. You're not going to be able to kill him. He's going to have Melee Renewal. He's going to be able to heal everything that you throw at him. He's going to have a boulder and knock up a push. He's just going to get into a team fight and decide Nehu or Beniq aren't going to play for this or this round, right? He's going to choose someone on the other side and try to lock them down. Maybe multiple members if Mando's able to find some good plucks. But right here, I mean, you get the standard solo lane. And yeah, I do think you miss out on that early game aggression you can have in the duo lane. I mean, much of what Hercules has is where he flourishes in team fights. The knockup, the disruption, all of that is very solid. Ooh. But you don't necessarily miss out on that.
Well, Fun Crush is taunted in, and that's an easy one for Jingu Bang, who now has 6 of the 8 kills in this game. 6-0-0 for the Erlang Shen out of the jungle. And Gore, we've seen some variety in these Erlang Shen builds. We saw Ikavale first item the other day. We sometimes see Stone Cutting Sword early on, but Jingu Bang's opted for that Sledge first item. Maybe feeling like he's more effective in sort of that hybrid bruisery mindset.
Well, I also think it works really well against the comp they're going against. I mean, you know, who's going to kill him and who's going to have the burst damage, right, that can maybe burn him down? You get something like a Sledge, all of a sudden Cthulhu's damage doesn't really mean that much to you. You shouldn't worry too much about the Wukong. You definitely aren't worried too much about Cerberus. And so the Assassins are maybe your biggest threat, but you're dealing just as much damage to them, if not maybe a little bit more right now, than what they're able to get out until they get some more items online. So you're kind of coasting, I think, early on. I like the build just because the protections it gives him allows him to play a little more frontliney, which I think is going to help, especially once Mando starts rotating in. They can kind of duo just dive Nehu, Beniq, even Fun Crush, and just cause them to have a bad time.
I think I like this mindset too. I mean, it's not often, but you know, every once in a while an Erlang Shen will taunt you in, and then the 9 turns blessing times out, and if he's super squishy, you just kind of melt through him before he has much to say about it. Doesn't happen often, but definitely can happen. So I think this is a good mindset for Jingu Bang, especially at 6-0-0. A lot of the engage for Gone to Tahiti. A push from Mando over on the blue buff side will secure the blue buff for himself. Attempted invade there by Slaughter Squadron. And so Mando able to pull one back there, just one level behind his counterpart over in that Cthulhu. Though all crickets after that, both solo laners 1-1.
This is what he brings though, Dave. Like, it's not even kill potential, although with Jingu Bang here, it is kill potential. It's just setup. Pure setup from Hercules.
Jingu Bang with the setup from the Hercules, and then the taunt back in from himself, but the rotation from Slaughter Squadron just around the corner. Jingu Bang beats out Mineral's ultimate there. River's Rebuke up and over the rest of this fight. Big now from Gone to Tahiti. You've invested a lot. You're trying to collapse onto Slaughter Squadron, but you've only picked up that 1 kill. And Slaughter Squadron will be able to make it out alive otherwise.
Mando had no mana, otherwise I think could have maybe continued the chase. Jingu Bang does want to continue the chase, or at least continue some of the pressure elsewhere. And this is, I think, the issue. Slaughter Squadron, their draft is one that I think you can really utilize. Maybe it just kind of sinks, I think, in the mid-game. Early game, you've got a lot of setup and sustain. Well, maybe not the sustain part. Tankiness is the better way to word it, right? Just natural health bar advantage, I guess, that comes through. And then late game, you're going to have all of your items online, impossible to kill unless they have the perfect build for everybody, which is going to be difficult to do with, 2 Guardians, 1 Warrior that are going to be able to build relatively tanky, although Wukong falls right in that middle where he can do either or and still be survivable.
Sure.
I think it's going to be stronger in the late game because of those items that really help facilitate the way they scale. But then you're going up against a late-game Kronos. Then you're going up against Jingu Bang, who at that point theoretically will have something, you know, like a stone cutting or maybe something to just help, even a chin size, to burn through some of the health bars. Diesel will ideally have gotten his late-game build on by that point, even though he's been slow and steady throughout most of this game. And that's a scary thought. Yes, you can scale well into the late game, but I think Gone to Tahiti might scale just a little bit better, especially with that Kronos.
So waiting for this interesting draft of Slaughter Squadron to kind of make the full 5v5. That surely is going to be something to watch. Cascade and Mineral, of course, playing most of the engage there. Fun Crush, of course. I mean, for a bit of the early game, Fun Crush was close to Jingu Bang, but now this Erlang Shen has really started to run away with things here. So Slaughter Squadron are going to have to be mindful of that, but still a lot of gold and damage, Gore, in the back pocket of this Sun Wukong out of the jungle. The Jotuns and the Erendite as well, so Jingu Bang has 4 more kills and 2 more levels, admittedly. Fun Crush still has some decent utility in his pockets.
Yeah, I mean, Wukong late game is still Wukong, right? And at that point, you just hit a little harder with all your abilities. Everything that I like, and I love this about Wukong, once you hit level 5, you've got everything, right? All of your utility is there. It's just damage now that you're going to be stacking up, and maybe a little bit of changes or advantages as you move forward. But for the most part, you've got your stun, you've got your knock-up, and you've got your dash once you hit 72 transformations. You've got your attack speed slow and regular slow once you have Master's Will. Like, you're set from the get-go. It's just using those in the late game.
Oh man, that's a level 15 Erlang Shen, but a 3-man pull back in for Mineral. Big time fight now for Slaughter Squadron if they can capitalize on some of the damage. But Gore, they don't have it just yet. Sybil stays alive as well, but Fun Crush drops down, picks up the Yamoja. And now the Sun Wukong full on retreat mode, but Jingu Bang there on the chase. No 9 turns blessing to pull him back in, but he'll have the pin here in a moment to lock him in. There it is, and Jingu Bang will add one more to his belt. 8-0. For Jingu Bang. Slaughter Squadron have kind of hung around, though.
They're going to be able to get, or maybe taken advantage of because of that, right? I mean, you come around too late, or you hang around too long. Mando's rotated over, so is Cascade. Now you're forced to ult, but Diesel's getting low. Diesel's gone.
Yeah, Betty Q dashes right back in thanks to that ultimate. Health bar still melting down for Slaughter Squadron. Double push from Mando. Sops from range. Finalizes Benny Q. And now Slaughter Squadron realize maybe the time was a few moments ago to disengage. Jingu Bang, not a lot of mana or health on this right-hand side. Mineral, the same can be said for him. Manda Warrior hits the pull. You just need one more shot, but Mineral has a little bit of healing. Sops not going to go for it, and the Cerberus will stay alive.
Should be Gold Fury, though. I mean, you're low, but you still have enough people and enough damage that this should be a pretty easy take. You get enough kills, though, or, you know, in the case of Nehu, a TKO where you force everyone out and make sure that you have all of the space on the left-hand side of the map. Ideally, you know, in a regular world, that's where you get Slaughter Squadron running up to something like a Pyromancer, but they're all too far away, and it's a little too much work to try and get everyone over there in time to burn it down. Plus, again, even though they have a good composition, unless both assassins are there, I don't think they're going to have enough easy shred for some of these objectives. And so Nehu and BDQ are pretty easy targets for Gone to Tahiti early on in team fights. Pretty much any time if they can isolate them or lock them down, that should start to strip away a lot of what Slaughter Squadron have to do, even if they win the fight.
That's right. And, you know, it's kind of an interesting retreat from the standard type of composition where, you know, like magical hunters still effectively do the same thing. They stand back and pour out damage, where Slaughter Squadron don't, I would argue, really have anyone that wants to do that on their squadron, I guess. Everyone wants to go in. There's not necessarily anyone back that you're protecting, it feels like, Gore. So it's interesting on maybe how Gone to Tahiti are going to have to answer back with something like that, where everyone's going to be running at you all at once.
Yeah, I mean, this is if anything, it's the best way to personify what North America likes to do. It's a whole W composition. They can all get in there, all cause disruption, all, you know, I mean, we've seen it Mineral with a huge 3-man ult there, good lockdown. It's just where the follow-up comes. You know, it does miss a little bit of the cohesion, specifically what Sops is able to bring, right? Sops gets pulled out, gets taken down, has the rewind available, but he's got so much damage from range that you're just not going to get as easily from Slaughter Squadron, and that's just one character. That's not even factoring in Diesel, who also has a lot of damage from range. And you've got two people who don't have to go in for Gone to Tahiti, and theoretically Slaughter Squadron can get back there and deal with them, but there's a lot of frontline with good peel on the side of GTT as well. I mean, Jingu Bang can pin you so you can't chase him down, Sybil can stun you, and Mando can just straight up pull you away from him.
And you look at Slaughter Squadron, something else you're going to have to consider for Gone to Tahiti is the 3 shells that Slaughter Squadron have. Mando Warrior so tanky, and ultimate invested. Thorns trapped in, though, by the River's Rebuke. Is Mando going to live from this? He's walking away. A double knock-up there keeps him alive. He'll dash away, and Mando does stay alive. Slaughter Squadron pours so much into that Hercules, and they're unable to get the kill. Even an Excavate sent in from range. Mineral does pick up a kill on the Sops, though. Sybil will rip-tide his way on out. Mando throwing in some CC from range. He was out before, but he goes back in and gets the push on the Nehu. The body blocks, they're going to keep him right where he's at, but Jingu Bang, he's locked himself in there with the Slaughter Squadron. Then this is a big fight for the Chaos side.
I mean, maybe one of the best examples to showcase that, yes, their composition can and will work in the right opportunities. Also, I mean, a little bit, when I want to say the term diversification of your targets, right, where it is who on your team is the one that needs to get killed, right? The answer should be 3 of them. It should almost always be, oh, well, we have to take care of this guy, and this guy to make sure things go wrong. Jingu Bang's 8-1. You kill him, and all of a sudden it makes it a little bit easier, I think, to contain everybody else. You still need to deal with Sopsa and Diesel's damage and what Sybil Mando can do in terms of setup, but I think you just get to walk away happy if you get rid of the jungler.
Oh man, BennyQ gets pulled back in here. Slaughter Squadron start up the Pyromancer, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to finish it. It's going to be a steal situation, and unfortunately for Gone to Tahiti, Slaughter Squadron do take that one away. So Slaughter Squadron start it, leave it, and then end up finishing it. So unfortunate for Gone to Tahiti, but well played there by Slaughter Squadron. Now some pressure over into the mid lane. Nehu pulled on back in, Excavate there for some extra damage as well, and the set will utilize the escapability to stay alive. So well played there by Nehu. But Gone to Tahiti, Gore, despite suffering a 3-0 fight, or an 0-3 fight rather, a few moments ago, not necessarily shying away. This Cascade now is going to use the ultimate. He's got 3 of Gone to Tahiti locked in. Maybe they should have shied away because the damage is just too much. It's a double kill from BennyQ. And now Gone to Tahiti, full on retreat mode. Sops will use the ultimate. Mando has gotten a kill onto Fun Crush, but the stun might not be enough. Nehu dashes right back in. Sop's plenty speedy enough, and if nothing else, Gore, a big fight for Slaughter Squadron 3 for 1.
I mean, again, being able to come in, just slap around Gone to Tahiti in a team fight. The only problem is what we just saw around the Pyromancer. What do you do now that you have all of that aggression? You win this big fight. It took them forever just to try and kill a Pyromancer, and even then, they barely were able to walk away with it. They had to steal it back from Gone to Tahiti, as opposed to really controlling that one. I don't know if this is a comp that you can really, even in a 3-for-1 trade, you know, go into a Fire Giant confident. Like, you still have to zone, you still have to have good ward coverage. It is that essence of what do you do after you win the fight. I think that Slaughter Squadron are going to start suffering with, although they've got a 3K to 4K gold lead right now as it starts to rise up. They've been regularly dealing with Sybil and Sops, making sure that neither of them can really have that impact. But I'm looking at the timer, and I'm looking at the levels. I'm looking at Sop's build, and I'm recognizing that soon enough, if, you know, yeah, you can regularly deal with him, but soon enough, he's still going to hit hard. He's still going to be a game changer in that Chronos pick. Even if he is 1-4-8, he can change that around. So Tsukuyomi, BennyQ, over here, has to have a lot of work ahead of him. Same thing for Nehu, a lot of work ahead of him to make sure that things continue on their course. Because until I can see them very confidently scoop up an objective afterward, this is a very slow-rolling team for Slaughter Squadron.
Right. Slaughter Squadron now looking at Mando Warrior. Hercules, so tanky, he's been able to escape from a few moments you might not have expected him to. So that's sort of that late-game Hercules we were talking about. You sacrifice maybe the immediate impact of the damage, but can stay alive so well regardless in the late. Diesel's been locked in with Slaughter Squadron, as Mineral will use the ultimate to keep him right where he's at. And a Tremble on the backside. Mando Warrior, though, pulls Mineral right back in. Jingu Bang's found a kill over by the red buff as BennyQ goes down, so that's a big bit of trading there for Gone to Tahiti. Fun Crush trying to get the kill, but Jingu Bang turns it around at the last moment. A double for the Erlang Shen. Gore, it's a Game of Thrones, it feels like right now, but it's a double pull and then a double push right back in for Mando. Cascade still has his ultimate, and watch out for Nehu rotating over back to the mid lane, and as such picks up the kill onto Jingu Bang. And Gone to Tahiti feeling confident enough to maybe start to fight.
Oh, and now Nehu's in a good position. Sop Sybil, no one sees him, and so he can get an easy line right into that Chronos. And now he's rewinding. I mean, it should be good setup for the set.
Oh, Sybil melting down. Mando, he's hit 2 people with his pushes and pulls for the last 3 or 4, it seems. Nehu right back in onto Sops, a double stun, and finally somebody dies, and it's now a second domino to fall with Sops going down. Mando Warrior, if we've learned anything, it's going to be a hell of a long time before he ends up going down, and Cascade seems to agree, so they'll walk away.
In fact, it's this area where, honestly, you might get the kill, but he'd probably take out Nehu in the process. Even in the 3v1, I think he's going to live long enough to do something like that. So you have to be careful, I think, fighting into someone like Mando Warrior right now as it goes. But that just showcases, and this is the toughest part, I've cast a lot of games over a lot of years. And one of the things that has at least been true in some circumstances, and this is another one of them, if you go for a tanky composition, you're not going to be making the flashiest plays. They're not going to be the quickest fights. It's not decisive. You're not coming in like a scalpel, getting things done and then getting out in the cleanest surgery possible. You are in the rough. You are just fighting them, at 2 a.m. and nobody's feeling too great. It's a bar brawl or whatever. And you just can't let something like that happen.
Oh no, gone to Tahiti, steal it with the excavate. Mando keeping his team in it through and through. Now the fight after might be going their way as well. A double kill for Mando Warrior. This Hercules absolutely swinging 25 minutes in. The Riptide for Mineral has been locked in twice. The stun won't be there, but Gore, what a stun to turn this game.
And just getting that steal, all 5 members have happened to just respawn, right? To be able to come through and get something like that. I mean, beautiful. But again, maybe showcasing it. Maybe it'll give me enough time to talk about this. What I was trying to say, though, is that Slaughter Squadron aren't going to win the fights prettily, but they're going to win them because they're going to live longer than you. They're just so much bigger. Every single one of them has a better health bar, some sort of longevity that they're going to be able to bring, and it just doesn't translate as well over to Gone to Tahiti. But now without that Fire Giant, you have nothing that can really defend against the 2 tower pushers that are going to be this Hachiman and Kronos.
That's right, Fun Crush doing large damage to the back line. We'll use the Somersault Cloud. The rest of Slaughter Squadron, except for the Cthulhu, have all respawned. Now the right Phoenix falls as well. Gore, still both towers over there in that long lane. Mid-tier 2 still there as well. That's, I think, well-played kind of micro-strategy from Gone to Tahiti, realizing, all right, we have the pushing power to knock down this full right-hand lane. Now we can finally go back and spend some gold and turn towards the rest of the map.
That's the issue, I think. If you get this Fire Giant, which again, pros and cons, Slaughter Squadron, composition, doesn't die easily. Cons, look how long it takes to take literally any objective.
Anything.
I mean, you're a few seconds away from Mando walking in and stealing the Primal Fury on top of that. And it's just, the discussion around the Pyromancer sparked it, but now you get to see it in action more and more, where you're going to live X amount of time longer than anybody in the fight, but what can you really get with all of that time you're buying? You don't have really solid tower pushers. You've got good defense because everybody on your team is a Guardian or a Warrior, or I guess the 2 Assassins there as well, but it's not going to come off quite as well balanced as what Gone to Tahiti have. And again, you leave Diesel or Sops alone for 2 seconds in a lane, then every tower is going to disappear.
Man, it really feels like Mando and Jingu Bang have the carry pants on today, huh? 4-1-2 for Mando, 10-2-4 for Jingu Bang. Everyone else is 2-14 combined. Sop, Sybil, and Diesel. I mean, they've scaled now to a point where that might not matter. But a tough game for everyone outside of the solo laner and the jungler for Gone to Tahiti. Kind of the opposite, maybe, for Slaughter Squadron. VenEQ finding some early pressure. Now we'll have to take a look at their base defense. Fun Crush pushing out the mid wave, but that's going to be an immediate engage really from both teams. Mineral finds his way into the back line. The ultimate beads out by Diesel will keep the Hachiman in the fight longer. He dashes away, but look at the re-engage from VenEQ. Fun Crush from range takes down the Gone to Tahiti Hunter, but Jingu Bang, he'll fall as well. VenEQ really re-engaging on this fight was massive. A double kill though for Fun Crush. Apparently the defense is good.
Man, as long as Mando's alive, though, good luck getting anything big done. And with Sops here, honestly, they still have a little bit of pressure, but they have 20 seconds left. The Fire Giant maybe can't just run in and steal that tier 2 and mid. Although, as risky as a play it would be, they easily would take it. It's just now putting yourself at complete risk. Right now, it's just going to defense, but, I mean, watch this. It's going to take them a little while, even for a tier 1 to go down. Tier 2 gets pushed. Yes, your Phoenix is going to get exposed here, but I don't think if you're Gone to Tahiti, you're sweating just yet. There's no game-ending potential from Slaughter Squadron available. So you're just waiting for this next Fire Giant. Hopefully, if you're Gone to Tahiti, you're not worried too much about a steal and instead are in a comfortable position to maybe actually get aggressive and control it yourselves.
Yeah, now that all the fire giant buffs have fallen away, you got to feel like if you're Slaughter Squadron, that's a net win. And that fight right there, despite Gone to Tahiti kind of controlling the last few minutes of the game, really shows what Slaughter Squadron want to do, and it's just full-on dive. And they got onto Diesel early, they forced his beads, but then Benny Q from range hits that piercing moonlight. Of course, the threat of not having range damage is there, but you might not care about it if you're able to get onto their backline just the same and eliminate that threat early on. You do have to wonder, though, Gore, and I think definitely worth mentioning, because you brought it up pretty well, is the objective confirm and also shred potential from Slaughter Squadron. Do you feel like this is one that Gone to Tahiti likely feel a little bit more comfortable going into first and foremost?
Gone to Tahiti do not need a fire giant in order to take all of those phoenixes. They have two really good objective killers. If this fire giant goes to Slaughter Squadron, though, and they keep winning fights the way they do, then that's game over. I mean, not only because of the timers at this point, 30 minutes in, enhanced fire giant on top of that, but that's going to be the difference maker for them. That's the one that will then set up Nehu and Biniq to just shred the phoenixes that are left standing. Otherwise, you'd make a really good defense for Gone to Tahiti, but now this fight's maybe more important than ever.
Ooh. Wow, Biniq just took so much damage there, half HP. Not sure he's going to feel comfortable going back in. Does have some healing, or some sustain, maybe just a little bit. But he's not going to want to deal with that. Instead, as the fire minions to the right side, Phoenix has respawn. Enhanced Fire Giant is here. Just 31 minutes into the game. So Gone to Tahiti or Slaughter Squadron, a massive advantage if you're able to secure this objective here. Biniq right back to full HP. That's going to allow him to maybe move back into this fight here. Sybil pulled right back in. The Emoja, no chance to participate in the fight. Watch out, piercing moonlight. It's found Diesel. And a double kill for Biniq might be the turning point in the game for Slaughter Squadron. 3 down for Gone to Tahiti. It's going to be 4 as Sops falls. Deicide on the other end of Mando Warrior. This Hercules is maybe going to be able to run away, but Gore, can he defend the Titan?
How long can he defend himself? He's barely getting out of that one. Alone, with mana, with health. He's going to be a nuisance. And I don't know, Fun Crush is low. I don't know if they're in a position to really get killed off by Mando here, but he's about to have that boulder. He could make a difference.
Mando is stunned here. 5-man pile. All on the Titan. Nehu finally gets the Deicide and Slaughter Squadron. 32 minutes in. Will pick up the win.
That team just outlives you. I can't, like, there's no other real way to look at it. It's just they live longer than you in these fights. They got to that point. I had mentioned they'd take a little dip in the middle where, you know, they're waiting to get those items online. That's where we see Gone to Tahiti get a Gold Fury. They start winning a couple of the fights, and then they just finished a next, 1-2 items there on the side of Slaughter Squadron.
Right.
And they didn't die in the fights anymore. All of a sudden, Sops and Diesel are getting dove on consistently. I think that's good from Nehu and Biniq to recognize their roles as assassins. And even though I said they didn't really have like the sustained range damage that you get out of like a Kronos or out of the Hachiman that they had on Gone to Tahiti, Biniq still brought the burst range damage, which was to say, I'll hit you from way back here, jump in, kill you dead, and then get out. And as long as I'm alive and you're not, I've done my job.
A little bit of chaos to start off this Sunday in Smite action. High kill game over here in the SCC in North America. Slaughter Squadron, though, they strike first after 32 minutes. Quick break, and we'll be right into game 2. Well, game one goes just over that 30-minute mark, Gore, and I imagine nobody is more frustrated than maybe Mando Warrior and Jingu Bang after game number one. The post-game stats, I think, will go a long way in telling us exactly how their stats broke down, but it seemed like the Hercules and the Erlang Shen were the driving force through and through, and there just wasn't quite the same support on the back end. It's, quick math, 2 and 20? Is that what that? No, 2 and 19 is what that equals for Sop, Sybil, and Diesel combined. That's tough.
When you have 14 of your 16 kills on 2 people, and then, as you had said, 19
One's a Hercules.
Of your 25 deaths there are
Yep.
also. And literally everyone that's not the jungle and solo laner, I think you're looking at where your problems have been. So I think just good from Gone to Tahiti, in those 2 roles, maybe frustrating literally everywhere else. Sops and Sybil, as well as Diesel, just never really got to have their hand on a fight throughout all of that, which is sad. Their damage numbers were there. It was just getting the kills converted. That seemed to be the big issue for them. And that's almost... I want to say not only it's simultaneously frustrating, but at the same time, you have to wonder how fast it would have been if Jingu Bang and Mando Warrior hadn't had that kind of performance. So I think Slaughter Squadron are more than happy to have it go 30 minutes if it means that that's going to be the case.
And remember, there's that Fire Giant steal from Mando Warrior that really, I think, elongates things here. So there definitely were factors that played in to a little bit of the length. But I brought up early on in this game, Gore, specifically about Fun Crush and how, he was somewhat keeping pace with Jingu Bang, always going to be hard to match exactly the stats that Jingu Bang was able to bring in game number one. But I think that Sun Wukong played his role as far as finding those engages and some good damage throughout the course of the late game and helped Slaughter Squadron through the finish line.
Yeah, I think what we got to see again was just the consistency. Sybil, unfortunately, consistently going down. Sops consistently going down. Whereas everybody on Slaughter Squadron was able to come in and have some sort of personal impact. I mean, whether it's getting a kill like that for Nehu, or if it's going to be putting pressure onto Sops or pressure onto Diesel, where they were able to get them very consistently at the beginning of a fight. Mando was able to do so much because he was left, he's the last man standing half the time, and then Jingu Bang was able to isolate people often throughout that game, but didn't quite have enough, I think, to pull it back. And that's maybe even worse when you're able to go 10-1, but also timing it from the moment they got aggressive on the left-hand Phoenix to the end of the game. Gone to Tahiti didn't get a single kill throughout all of that. I mean, I remember preparing a point to make saying that they were 14 of the 16 kills they had, and the fact that that was still the same at the end of the game when I waited 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes before I said anything is not a good sign for them. So they really want to just turn it around, I think, here through and through in the draft.
Well, Gore, I think for both your sake and mine, we're hoping that the Slaughter Squadron draft is a little bit more clear. They did get the win, but they had us scratching our heads for sure in the pick ban phase, and maybe that's half the strategy. You get the other team a little confused on exactly what it is you're trying to do, and that gives you a small advantage. Umoja still available, makes her way through the ban phase yet again, notably the Tsukuyomi banned out by GTT this time. And Gore still prioritizing this Hercules. It was Mando Warrior in game one, could still go to him. But a Hercules first pick nonetheless with a lot of power still available.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they're able to shuffle this. Although Umoja, again, it's kind of weird to see her on the table and not locked in already. And I think this goes back to the conversation we had last time where I guess if you don't have a good Umoja, go practice Umoja. And if you do have a good Umoja, then lock her in immediately. Although, I don't know, it feels weird unless they're going to go Hercules solo, which Mando had a great performance on it. And they might just opt into throwing him over into the dual lane. And they could very well grab Umoja and send it to Mando. They could just flop him. I think she could at least hold her own over there. Maybe not the most beneficial matchup for her, but she could at least sustain and be alive as she wanted to and still be a late game Umoja at some point. But I like going back to the Erlang Shen. It worked really well for them. Going back to the Hercules, I think if it goes to Mando, it's also worked really well for them. So just change the other parts, the things that weren't working so well. I love Sops, but I think I've started to see this Kronos mid fail more than I've seen it be successful. 2 times I think I've seen it be successful, whereas every other time he's played it, I've seen it lose. So as much as I want it to work, it just doesn't quite seem to work yet.
Well, we thought some of the confusion maybe was all in game 1, but Slaughter Squadron going to throw another bit of a curveball at us here. Heimdall locked in, Cupid, there as well. I mean, likely mid lane Cupid. I mean, almost certainly mid lane Cupid, Heimdall over in the long lane. But still, the double hunters nonetheless score.
Yeah.
That means Slaughter Squadron are going to be looking elsewhere for some serious magical damage. Of course, they do have the Cthulhu, so he provides a little bit of that there as well. But the double hunters, it's something you got to consider as far as block stacks and shells and things like that could be easily mitigated by Gone to Tahiti.
Yeah, and both, like you said, are kind of either or. You could send them wherever and still have them find some success, but like you said, Cupid, like especially in mid, I think you look at the block stacks as being helpful, and I think that's going to be a big deal, especially late game. But I also look at attack speed builds, like it'll block Heimdall way more than it'll block Cupid, and if they're both hitting the same target, it's not going to block them for long, right? So you have to wonder, and maybe even stack them up together with things like that. And, you know, they changed Height of the Nemean to the point where this is maybe something that you could pick up for someone like Hercules, maybe some of the more tankier people, but they're not going to see it too often, which I think is going to be even more advantageous for something like Heimdall and Cupid. Plus, hey, what we're Slaughter Squadron doing the SLS is going to throw me off. What are they good at, and what did they suck at last time? Last time, they couldn't take an objective to save their lives if it took them longer than 10 seconds. It almost always did. Now you've got 2 tower killers on your side, so I think they're going to be able to change that aspect of their game very easily.
Well, Xing Qin being locked in doesn't necessarily answer the questions on where the Hercules is going to go. So either does it, in your mind, does that scream Mando Warrior Xing Qin to you?
If Mando's on the team and Xing Qin's locked in, Mando's playing Xing Qin. He does it's the weird honestly, he should just change his name to Xing Qin in game. He doesn't play. If he can, he doesn't seem to play much else. And it's something that they've been doing all year. So I think that should more or less solidify where that one's going.
Good point. So now both squads locked in here. The Slaughter squad has Heimdall Cupid, but they also have some of that same engage that they wanted in game number 1 with the Cthulhu, the Cerberus, and Gore. Now a little bit more automatic, maybe out of that jungle, a Fear No Evil there as well. So it's looking like a scary team fight.
Yeah, you lose, the 2 assassins and I guess the Wukong and all of that, but instead you get Fear No Evil, which I think is a net positive here for Slaughter Squadron, and 2 tower killers to help with the objectives that you had struggled with all of last game. Even though you end up winning, maybe it takes you 10 minutes longer than it really needed to overall there. So I think they, again, take all of the things that were good in Game 1, they add on to them with their picks here for Game 2. So I want to say big picks for Slaughter Squadron. But I think putting Sops here onto something like an Aphrodite, you get Jingu Bang back onto this Erlong Shin that had a great game, Mando's on something comfortable, and Sybil's going to be able to get more aggressive on this Hercules than on the Emoja and maybe have a better performance overall. Gone to Tahiti made some really good changes to provide them sustain, as well as maybe more control of this early game, which is something that Sops couldn't do last time as Kronos.
Well, it's still Dolson, still Gore, still Doug for game 2 between Gone to Tahiti and the Slaughter Squadron. More standard Gore maybe out of the long lane this time. No Benny Q on the Tsukuyomi for some of that early pressure, though Mineral and Benny Q are both going to be providing some early damage as well. I mean, I could see Gore. I mean, obviously a Hercules in lane as well. You got to keep your eyes open for it. And Mineral's got good damage, especially if he's hitting that stun consistently. Could be some more fireworks in store over in the duo lane.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see how that one goes. I'm, again, almost always floored when I see Benny Q doesn't have Blink, but I think that's going to be a good call here just because there's so much setup, stun, lockdown, what you want to call it over there in the duo lane on the side of Gone to Tahiti. You almost need beads. In fact, even if I'm Mineral, I might want a little bit of beads here because of how troublesome it's going to be. I mean, who you locked down as well as all this damage with Cupid is not pulling any punches.
Oh my, Sops nearly falls, but who did was Mineral just a minute in, and Sybil takes over to level 2. Benny Q still being chased in. Sybil eats a few too many tower shots, and he will go down, so Benny Q picks up 1, but Sybil now has his second. I suppose I don't know why I'm surprised at any of this, Gore. Both of these teams have shown us they're willing to brawl from minute 1.
And I say this with all the kindness in my heart, but just for Sybil, when you push into the tower, you will take more damage than pushing him out of the tower. Although, he wasn't in a position, if you don't push there, you don't get the kill. And maybe it's, you know, it's fully worthwhile. You go in, you get Mineral and Benny, you only lose your support. Granted, this support also did just get first blood and has both of the kills on him, but either way, you still come out, I think, at a net positive overall. Diesel gets 2 assists, and then he gets to sit in lane and farm a little bit. Notice, he's level 3, everyone else on that side of the map's level 2, so he's getting that smidge of experience more, which is going to help them out overall. Plus, you get to maintain this aggression now because you absolutely shut down Slaughter Squadron. There was no qualms about that. And so as much as I like to meme them, I think that was a good play from Gone to Tahiti just to get that early game control.
Jingu Bang hits the pin on Cascade. Cthulhu doesn't have his dash, I suppose. Mando Warrior feared away. Jingu Bang pops the beads just for an insurance policy, and Mando Warrior will pick up the kill onto the Cthulhu. Gone to Tahiti starting to fire on all cylinders just a few moments into this game, and I like the mindset there. If you can properly fight around the Cthulhu rotations, early on is maybe the time to strike.
When I saw that flash, he had his dash, must have either been on cooldown or he didn't feel confident about it. Well, either way, he's going to get taken down there. Well played once again by Gone to Tahiti. I'm just a little nervous because I do think, you know, much like last time, I think that Slaughter Squadron's scale maybe a little bit better. Hercules does well. Aphrodite does extremely well in the late game. But I think you're going to see this Cupid, this Heimdall hit a little bit harder, especially if you get a little overzealous.
Well, Sybil is stuck around too long in Nehu. I mean, technically that's a rotation, and maybe I'm literally defining what a rotation is, but he just sort of saunters on over from the mid lane, and Sybil's sticking around over there trying to invade on that purple buff, and Slaughter Squadron delay it just long enough to keep Sybil interested in trying to take it away, but won't be able to do so. So down goes the support after a couple of early kills for Gone to Tahiti.
Yeah, early ones, but again, all onto mainly Sybil. I mean, you've got one over there on Mando, but maybe not the 2 targets that I really want leveling up. I mean, I want Diesel to find kills, and just barely is BennyQ going to be able to get on out of there. It's that. I'm looking at how well does, you know, Sops and Diesel play this game. Honestly, how well does Jingu Bang get off to, because he hasn't had the same early game that he did last time.
Fun Crush is eating a lot of damage here. Nehu drops down the Fields of Love. Sybil feared away from the rest of the fight, but Jingu Bang, he's here as well. There's the knock-up, the stun on the fadeaway from Sops, connects onto Nehu. So Gone to Tahiti pull another one back here as the Cupid a bit caught out. The red buff invade doesn't necessarily go in their favor in the buff department, but does go in their favor in the kill department.
Yeah, at this point, they're controlling the pace of it. I think this is what you were mentioning about Hercules last time, and realistically, why you hardly see him solo is just, yeah, solo lane, he can hold his own. He can even look great. Mando Warrior had an awesome game. And late game, you're still this knock-up machine, the stun machine, to an extent this boulder machine, and realistically just an undying machine at that point. But early on, as a support, look at, I mean, how much Sybil's been able to be impactful of. 3 out of the 4 kills so far, but running forward, constant knockups, constant pressure that comes out from just having Hercules there. And now he's linked up with Sops, like attached to an Aphrodite, something that was already difficult to deal with now gets immunity if Sops needs to use his ult, and healing for free in the event that his isn't up. He's just not going to die.
Oh, Sybil pull push. Nehu brought back in and then immediately kissed down for the stun. Excavate. I'm not sure had the damage anyway, but would have brought Nehu close to death. Of course, it's a 2-level differential over in the long lane as well. We've left the hunters alone to their own devices. BennyQ will probably pull one back with a couple of waves moving in towards his tower, but just left alone there, a couple of assists, enough to give Diesel an early enough advantage to kind of pressure out BennyQ.
I mean, pressuring out BennyQ is, I think, going to be important throughout a lot of this game. Same thing here for Nehu. Trying to keep both of them locked down is more or less like a win condition, right? Keep them from controlling the fight. Fun Crush as well is that one Fear No Evil that I've gotten to see, and it was really a defensive one. So as long as you can keep them playing like that, playing as a team that is trying to retreat, as opposed to what we're about to see, which is a team that's getting aggressive, then you're going to be able to control it. No, Diesel gets just close enough to the tower line, I should say, the tier 1 tower over there, that it's going to get aggressive.
Mando used his root and now has to retreat. Jingu Bang here. Oh no, Cascade way too low. Hits the knock up. The pin will not lock him in, but the transformation sure will. Taunt back in. And an easy one for Jingu Bang, picks up his second of the game, and his second rotation over to that short lane. A bit over-aggressive there for Cascade. Unfortunately, he falls for the second time.
Yeah, I think just unfortunate timing and maybe positioning overall. Cascade takes, I think, one tower shot throughout all of that, but realistically, it's coming out of the ult that locks him down the most for Jingu Bang. If that pin isn't enough and none of the other lockdown was enough, the damage there wouldn't have connected had he not had the most unfortunate time to downsize back to regular Cthulhu, which is still massive, but regular Cthulhu in game. And he was kind of winning that fight against Mando. I mean, Mando, if he had stuck around even slightly longer, would have died there. And it would have just been a 1-for-1, but keeping the Cthulhu locked down, another good little condition state just to keep things in control here for Gone to Tahiti. Opens up the conversation around objectives. No one's really had a good opportunity to get aggressive onto them yet. And
right.
Honestly, I don't know that we're going to see it anytime soon unless one of these teams just finds a bonkers ultimate or a bonkers team fight, which admittedly I think Slaughter Squadron have the easier capability of forcing a three-man kill more than what you can see out of Gone to Tahiti.
How awkward of a spot do we think that Fun Crush is in here, where he's 2 levels behind? But, in the onset moments of this game is when you want this Hunbats, especially with his Fear No Evil, to be making an impact. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, we've only really seen one, and it was to try to disengage around this red buff. Whereas Jingu Bang has, ganked a couple of times, got a couple of kills, maintaining that farm. It's got to be sort of a weird decision-making process. BennyQ will decide to dash away with his ultimate and stay alive, but we haven't seen the impact that we expect early from a Hunbats.
Yeah, awkward, like you said, is maybe the most accurate feeling, because, like you said, I'm 2 levels down.
Gotta farm.
That already doesn't feel that great. But also, they've got beads, plus Afro ult. Who am I going to ult? Who am I going to lock down? I mean, if I go in, they've got so many different forms of CC immunity that they're not worried about it. Plus, they can just bully me.
The Excavate almost gets it done. He has 15 or 16 HP. Quick on the fingers there is Doug. And Fun Crush will stay alive somehow.
Did I see that right? He was leveling his monkey first? I think he was leveling Sacred Monkey over it. I guess there's some damage in there, but I mean, overhand smash. Yo, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the jungle clear. Look, I will admit I have not played a lot of jungle Hunbats in a while, but at least in my time, it's always been overhand smash first when it comes through. So that might also be where Fun Crush is not attacking. I mean, he has some good hop damage that he can come through, but the overhand smash scales really well. 95% of your physical power plus all that damage. I don't know.
Sure does.
It's an interesting choice. Maybe it's an overall net positive, but it's an interesting dynamic, I think, to come into this one.
Well, realizing not enough damage to melt through Mando Warrior or Jingu Bang, Cascade will have to use his ultimate, and Fun Crush did not have the Fear No Evil. Stun potential here, but BennyQ has been quick on the crystals to stay alive as the 2-level lead still stands strong over here in the long lane. We haven't seen, and this is the power of Gone to Tahiti Gore, kind of centered around Jingu Bang and his rotations to the right, and then Sybil and Diesel over there on the left-hand side. I mean, we haven't even really seen the power or the threat of this undying love from the Aphrodite as well. I mean, anti-heal's got to be something that you look towards. Fun Crush has the Brawler's Beat stick, but you need a little bit more. Mineral, I mean, the Cerberus pick, I suppose, with the passive is good into this matchup, but you don't have the damage to kill him without the Aphrodite early on. It's going to be very frustrating, I imagine, as the team fights start.
I think a lot of this, I think frustrating is just a good way to describe this. The lockdown that you're not going to have from Slaughter Squadron, although right now the lockdown from Gone to Tahiti is more than enough to get Nate.
Ah! Another Excavate just barely misses on the kill. Sybil is beside himself. Another one just barely gets away. It was Fun Crush a moment ago, and this time it's Nehu. Nehu kind of re-engaged on his own onto the back line of that fight where Sops was very close to going down, but he ended up staying alive. So tense moments there, though that does show the power of this Cupid out of the mid lane, Gore. I mean, we've talked about mid lane healing, of course, through the perspective of the Aphrodite, which is very important. But this Cupid provides a good bit of that healing as well. The Fields of Love is going to be very important in some of these team fights. So maybe that's an aspect that Slaughter Squadron can look to play around early in this game. I mean, because after Nehu rotated over to help with that purple buff, we haven't seen him all that much.
Yeah, it's been slow going overall, but this is something I think, normally we talk about the pivot of the game, and hopefully they're going to let me talk here for a little bit before they get too aggressive. But realistically, we talk about the pivots of a game, and it's usually this big team fight oriented, oh, that was the final one, or that's where they were able to pick it up. Like right here, right? A pause comes through. Let's say this Gold Fury starts in the next 30 seconds, and then all of Gone to Tahiti get wiped. Normally, that's the highlight. This is where they turn things around. But I actually think this is one of those games where that would be the tangible, yes, they got a good grip on it. But I think it's them walking away. These last couple of fights, being able to escape even with barely any health, keeps you on the board, keeps you farming, keeps you available for your team. And so I would argue that these are maybe the moments where they're actually starting to turn things around for Slaughter Squadron, where they're just able to stay alive a little bit longer. Again, not anywhere near as well as last game, but as long as you're able to walk out of these fights without giving up a kill, it slows down the lead that Gone to Tahiti have, and it keeps you within shooting range of them. I mean, 2K gold is not a whole lot to have as an advantage, and it's something that I think is easily overcome here by what Slaughter Squadron have drafted.
Especially when it's somewhat evenly spread. I mean, large deficit between Diesel and BennyQ, about 800 gold in that department, and then like 700 gold between Jingu Bang and Fun Crush, but yeah, it's half an item or so. I mean, so still have the opportunity to maybe fight back in here. Gold Fury is going to extend that lead just a little bit further, about a 1k spike there. 2,400 gold is now where the lead stands. So Slaughter Squadron, Gore, I think probably smart. Whether or not they knew that was happening, maybe irrelevant. I'm not sure they wanted to fight anyway. Fun Crush fears Mando in the same direction that he's running. He uses the beads to try to escape here. The tick damage won't finalize him, but Sop's so close. Can she speed herself up? And anyway, will herself forward. She will not, and Fun Crush will stay alive again. That's like the second time he's been somewhere near double-digit health.
Yep, and being able to walk out alive, it's narrow, but hey, it's still alive, right? And I will say, as much as I like talking and mentioning maybe those intangible pivots, maybe one of them kind of occurring right there, not dying there for Fun Crush, keeps them going, you do still have to get the tangible pivots, right? Like, you still have to be present for the objectives. You still have to be willing to put up a fight. You still have to eventually start winning something outside of just staying alive, right? Just getting out of the fight and being able to keep pressure alive is one thing, but winning a Fire Giant, a Pyromancer, maybe the next Oni Fury, since you've already lost this Gold Fury, those are the moments I think Slaughter Squadron need. But much like last time, I think this mid-game's going to pivot. Again, Fun Crush hasn't had the impact that you want. There was another Fear No Evil used defensively there just to stay alive. I think once we start to get to see those, at least forcing Sops to ult or forcing beads off of people from Gone to Tahiti, that's when we'll start to see a little bit more proactive play from Slaughter Squadron. But until that happens, I mean, Fun Crush is just kind of a farm machine. I mean, he's going to be able to walk from buff to buff to buff and pick things up in the jungle, or he's going to get farmed by Gone to Tahiti because he's very far behind so far. I mean, 2 levels there in the jungle, and just isn't able to provide too much in terms of the disruption just yet.
All right, Slaughter Squadron definitely still something to hold on to as the game will move forward. BennyQ Transcendence into Aussie. Gore, that kind of has the makings of the Hunter builds of old that we used to see, doesn't it? Where you start off with something like that and then build into that Aussie tree a little bit more. This Heimdall focusing himself towards keeping himself alive.
And I love this for how often we've seen Slaughter Squadron walk away with like 1/3 or less HP. Most of the time less in that case. Aussie's like the perfect passive to get you back in the fight. I mean, this was one of the items that it used to be almost necessary because of the fact that if you got bursted, you got hit by a mage in mid lane because of some rotation, let's say, or just in the middle of a team fight, he chunks you down to, 1/4 HP. You walk into the jungle with your Aussie passive and farm up 1 camp, even just some harpies in the back, and you're back to full health. You're back in the fight. You didn't have to back all the way to base and then use that travel time where your team is maybe losing the fight elsewhere. So I like it, although BennyQ hasn't been one of those players that really gets taken down often.
Pyromancer taken by Gone to Tahiti. Here's a Fear No Evil to engage on the fight, and Mineral has found the opening kill. Jingu Bang goes down, and Sybil very close to it as well. Mando Warrior wants to re-engage. There's the double pullback from Sybil, but Cascade controlling Sop so well here. No Undying Love, and Mineral will capitalize. 2 kills now for the Cerberus in this fight. Sybil blinks his way over the wall. Fun Crush for the 3rd time this game. Still in it, but the double dash, it's there, and Mando Warrior will finally get rid of the Hun bats. That's a big fight for Slaughter Squadron.
Well, right after I said that Benny Q hasn't necessarily needed that Aussie proc, he's been using it right now just to try and stay alive over there on left. Almost got soloed out. All of that was going on. So a good fight, I think, overall for Slaughter Squadron, even though things still come up a little bit in favor of Gone to Tahiti. Again, it's keeping him more in punching range more than anything. You don't want Gone to Tahiti to run away, and that was a great one. Also, so what's that I guess that stuff when you're going fishing, you really want the fish to come through, you put it on the end of your, it's called bait. That's what Fun Crush has been, right? I mean, almost nothing other than just a worm dangling on a hook for them. Comes in, will fear no evil, and then is virtually dead the rest of the fight, but is just running around making them chase him.
Oh, Jingu Bang, he's rotating in, blinks forward, but kind of swaps spots with Benny Q. Beads have been used. No 9 turns blessing here. Let's see. Oh, except it gets used right at that moment, just off of cooldown. Benny Q able to dash away. He'll sustain up just a little bit here, but the 4-man rotation in behind. So good timing there from Jingu Bang with his ultimate coming back. Benny Q not long for this world. The push away, and now the kill from Sops.
Had his ult, but honestly, I don't know if you walk away much happier in that scenario, even if you get your ult off. Maybe you can lock someone down and your team with this rotation can find a kill, but they might even be able to do so. Sops has his ult, which makes this kind of feel like a moot fight for me, at least in the side of Slaughter Squadron. Being able to get aggressive is nice, but Aphrodite just changes the face of the game. I mean, look at the healing. Everyone's topped off. They've got a free immunity, even though the beads are down for at least Sops. Diesel still has beads, so you don't even have to be attached. This is just well played.
Fun Crush not able to get in range, and Gone to Tahiti will lock down the Fury. And another defensive Fear No Evil will send Fun Crush on his way. Gore, it's the composition of Transcendences and Aussies, I suppose, for Slaughter Squadron. As Nehu has picked up Transcendence Aussie for himself, and then kind of a mid to late game Transcendence pickup here for Fun Crush as well, who's got a little legwork to get that one stacked up.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit, but honestly, I think it'll still work out for them. I mean, mana is going to be helpful overall. The power spike is going to be helpful. It's something that the junglers used to pick up a lot earlier this season. Then a small nerf made it not quite as viable for them, but still viable there for the hunters, as you can see. So I still think it can slot in well, but we'll have to see if it gives them the true spike and specifically the turnaround that they need. Because otherwise, it's just going to be more of this, getting caught out because Gone to Tahiti are controlling the map.
Mineral uses his ult, but he's taunted back in by Jingu Bang. Excavate catches onto Nehu. A Mineral a bit left alone on an island here, but he'll leap away. He stays alive for the time being. Gone to Tahiti. Collapse in on this tier 1 tower, but only 2 members of Slaughter Squadron here to defend as Mineral has had to leave the fray. Mando Warrior tanking up the tower just fine, and the last little bit of damage will pour through. Gone to Tahiti, they don't pick up any kills, Gore, but maybe the intention there purely just to brute force down that tower and get some extra gold.
You know, now we're hitting the point where you're starting to see not only what Aphrodite can do, you know, let's talk about it. She's got a stun, she gives movement speed. You also, like, it's not seen often, and this is something, it was a strat years and years ago, but teams would pick Aphrodite mid. You could connect to the jungler if you went something like Meditation. A percentage of the mana and healing that she gets also goes to whoever she's connected to. So Meditation was actually really fun. It's Vinny Q. Hey, he's out of there. We can just ignore him. Mineral, probably also out of there. We can ignore him for a little bit. Because they're just getting slaughtered at this point. Their namesake kind of happening to them. But it's the healing. It's the healing, and it's the ability to stay alive. Her ult is already a nuisance. Hasn't been popped off anywhere near as often as Slaughter Squadron, I think, need in order to open a window of opportunity to get a kill there. But also, you've got Brawler's Beat Sticks, Contagion, and a one Cursed Ankh to really deal with the healing. And between Sops here, with Sybil's healing, with Jingu Bang's healing, with the lifesteal that Diesel's going to have, it doesn't feel like enough for me. I'm wondering if one of these hunters is going to pick up a Toxic Blade, but this is one of the downsides of not having a mage. You don't get that Divine Ruin easy application of anti-heal.
Cascade, largely left on an island, outside of some early ganks from Gone to Tahiti, still present enough in these fights. Fire Giant, half HP, Gone to Tahiti, move in. It was stolen once, but might not be stolen this time as Jingu Bang will pick up the kill finally. Onto Cascade is the Cthulhu left alone with little support from the rest of the team. FG not fully reset just yet. Sops has to back away. Oh, the stun onto Fun Crush, but there's the Fear No Evil. A good Aegis will protect a lot of the damage there. The Monkey Toss damage will not get it done, and Sops ends up staying alive somehow. And the Undying Love certainly helps in that department. Slaughter Squadron thought they might find a couple, but it's anything but.
I mean, being able to walk out. This feels very similar to last game where, Slaughter Squadron would come in, win a fight pretty outrageously, and then still have all 5 members standing. It's just now gone to Tahiti are doing it.
Oh!
The Pyromancer, though, Dave. So, hey, a little bit of bang for their buck. Not a whole lot. They're still losing, ultimately, but they're only 3,000 down as opposed to what could have just been a huge start to a mountain of gold for Gone to Tahiti.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think this is kind of a gauge on how much anti-heal you might need to deal with an Aphrodite? I mean, it's we sung the praises maybe of Cerberus and how he might help, and Fun Crush obviously has the Brawler's beat stick here on his side, but not much else has been built into. I suppose you don't have a mage to build Divine Ruin. Nehu, Benny Q might have to build a Toxic Blade at some point. Do you think just Cerberus, the Brawler's beat stick, and maybe some of the other anti-heal that might exist there for Slaughter Squadron is enough?
No, I think, honestly, I'd be surprised if we don't see a Toxic Blade of some sort.
There's an
at least onto someone like Nehu or someone, right? Where they can come through and try to give another layer that's just a little more helpful, because otherwise, I mean, Sops is able to walk away from too much.
Cascade is going to get pushed to the side here. Fun Crush tosses down the Fear No Evil, but Jingu Bang will shrug it off and get the kill anyway. Cthulhu running away. Mantle proc, I think, just saves him a little bit. I kind of ignored the Cursed Onyx that Mineral has there as well, so definitely another piece of utility that'll be helpful. But a tough game to be in the jungle here. If you're on the Slaughter Squadron team, Fun Crush falls for the 3rd time this game, and this is an interesting call, Gore. With Fun Crush and that Fear No Evil being down, that maybe opens up the door to this Fire Giant.
And they've got the damage to do it, the healing to do it. I think there's potential for
Mineral doesn't.
Cascade doesn't have ult. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to get in there in time. I think that's just a little unfortunate for them. That could have been a really good way for Slaughter Squadron to fight their way back into this. They just haven't been present. I'm kind of surprised. This is one of those games that they're not out if you're Slaughter Squadron, but you're praying more for Gone to Tahiti to make a mistake than you really are playing off of your own ability to get aggressive, although this could be a good fight.
Mineral uses his ult and forces out the Undying Love, so that's now a big piece of utility that's missing for Gone to Tahiti, but Cascade body blocked into the side, and Jingu Bang absolutely melts through his health bar. The kin size will do plenty there to the health bar of the Cthulhu. Still a push, though, going on the right-hand side. Here, if Slaughter Squadron just get their backs delayed, could be a good fight for Gone to Tahiti. Sybil being sent away by Fun Crush, and right back in goes Benny Q, and Diesel sent to the sky. Likely a kill on the other end of it here, but Mineral now being dove on in the mid lane. A double kill for Benny Q seemingly out of nowhere, but Jingu Bang picks up another in the mid lane. Gore, messy across the board here. Could be a 3rd for Benny Q. One more auto will do it. Instead, Fun Crush has got it. Mando Warrior a bit on its own. The Phoenix is still alive. I'm not sure what we're fighting over here.
I am happy to see that Fun Crush is getting a hand on some of these fights, though. That has been kind of unfortunate. I mean, this Hunbat's one of the best team fight assassins that you can have. Hasn't been able to win a team fight on his own. I mean, that was his first kill in 24 minutes that we've gotten to see. 1, 3, and 4 now, and it does feel like the same problems from last game are cropping up, which is to say, Jingu Bang, Honor Long Shin is 8-1 and 2 right now. That is very devastating for him, while the rest of the kills are a little more spread out, and they have nowhere near the same amount of deaths on Gone to Tahiti. It does start to feel like if you can get rid of Jingu Bang, you can start to control things a little bit better for your team,
right,
and force them to lock down. Diesel as well over there wasn't able to do a whole lot up against that tower. Granted, they got some good pressure, but I think that's a good sign of life from Slaughter Squadron. Necessary to make me believe that they can still win this.
Fun Crush goes in on his own and immediately has to turn tail. Fear No Evil sends a couple, setting right back into the red buff pit. Jingu Bang waiting for that 9 turns blessing, just off of cooldown, taunts back in Cascade, but a stun. And now the Fields of Love from Nehu will slow down the re-engage from Gone to Tahiti, but only so much. The kin-size damage melting through the Cthulhu health bar once more. Nehu stunned on in, pushed back to the side, unstoppable as Jingu Bang, but Mineral, he's pulled in a few, and it's a tremble on a couple as well from Cascade. Gone to Tahiti, you gotta be careful here not to bite off too much.
I said get rid of Jingu Bang first and see what can happen. This tier 2 is gone no matter what, but I think you can still pick up some scraps from the fight afterward. You've got Benny Q, Fun Crush is back, full health. No Fear, No Evil. And honestly, with Sop still having beads and ages, it makes me just... it's almost downtrodden at this point. How do you kill her? It feels impossible. You got Ethereal Staff for all of the health. You've got a Breastplate of Valor for some physical protections. Good luck at any of the 3 damage dealers, primary damage dealers there for Slaughter Squadron being able to successfully kill off Sops. And the ult's back up now, Dave. It's got with the cooldown reduction. It feels almost hopeless. It's not. I've seen Aphrodite's die. It's just so difficult to get the stars to align. And I think that's what Slaughter Squadron are just dealing with right now. And almost to the point where I'm ready to just say, all right, let's go to game number 3. But I look at the map state. It's maybe not in favor of Slaughter Squadron, but they could easily, if they can just win a team.
Could have been worse.
Afterward, they have very good capabilities of destroying towers and running it down mid and killing a Titan. Like, they have the damage potential there for a PvE win. They just have to win the PvP portion first, and that's the part that is giving them the trouble.
Might be overconfidence from Gone to Tahiti is the route back in. Maybe a Fire Giant in the next 50 or so seconds that prompts something like that. As we talk about it, a quick pause, Gormizer. That'll give us a second to maybe catch our breath. I mean, we are starting to get to that point. I mean, the supports, even in level, both level 18. The Hunters have both reached level 20. The only person outside of the supports that is not level 20 yet is Nehu on that Cupid out of the mid lane. So Gore, there's obviously some money discrepancies here. I'm also noticing that Cascade has picked up the Divine Ruin for himself, so there's a little bit of extra anti-heal off the top. This is all just to say that Slaughter Squadron, to your point, have delayed this game long enough to maybe give themselves a foothold moving back in.
The good news, like you said, always about experiences. There is a cap. Once you hit level 20, you can get as much experience as you want. It's not going to level you up anymore. So there's a cap or a catch-up rate there for Nehu. But the gold does make a big difference, and that's where those items come into play. You're going to see a little bit more damage from Gone to Tahiti on average, but I think if Fun Crush, and it has to be on this jungle right now that I have to put the pressure, because Jingu Bang's having a stellar game. If Fun Crush can get a great ult or just a good fight, then this changes. But I feel like we haven't really got to see as much as I would like out of this Hunbats. And specifically in terms of ults, I feel like 9 out of 10 of them, I think there's one that I've seen that was aggressive. Every other ult that I've seen Fun Crush throw down was a, oops, I took a lot of damage, this'll get me safe.
Right.
And that's never going to be the good setup for your team. I want it to die for it if you have to, but get a good Fear No Evil to help set up the team, because otherwise he hadn't really brought enough for me to justify this pick just yet. I love Hunbats.
Oh, I agree. I think the virtues of the pick are there, but they have not been lived up to, I suppose, here in this game. Fire Giant absolutely evaporating under Gone to Tahiti's damage pressure. Cascade is in there. Diesel has to leap away. There's a good Fear No Evil. Catches out a couple. Slaughter Squadron might have found the fight that they're looking for. Cascade spreading out that Divine Ruin so well. Mineral does get the kill onto Sops. No more ultimates to go here for Gone to Tahiti. Just good old-fashioned damage is going to have to get it done, and Diesel has plenty.
Diesel.
A double kill, a triple kill as he's jumped on in there looking for the stun. He won't get it, but Gormizer, it's the same maybe as game number 1. Gone to Tahiti can group and push on in.
Yeah, they've got minions with them as well that they can push up in mid just close enough to do this. And look, Mineral, you're going to be able to output a lot of damage. Honestly, could still probably kill off someone like Jingu Bang. But to try and make a just 1v4 defense here is going to be stressful. But he's already starting off to a good start.
Mineral pushed back here. Jingu Bang quite low.
Cool down.
Have to see. I mean, this Titan is going to just take so much damage. Mineral's got to do all of the damage here all at once. Shell popped. Titan down. Gone to Tahiti. Send us to a game 3.
Yeah, Fun Crush finally got in there, got the ult that I've been looking for the entire time after 20, 30 minutes of game, right? Like, it's just like, I want to see those more proactively, I think, early on. I'm going to have to go hit up Mifflin or somebody else that I know that I trust a lot in the jungle to figure out about the Sacred Monkey versus Overhand Smash, because I feel like he just wasn't really engaged in that early game. And realistically, you get to see Jingu Bang once again have a stellar game on this Erlang Shen. I think that enters the ban column if you're going into game number 3, and you have to figure out your early game a little bit better if you're going to take these picks on the side of Slaughter Squadron.
Yeah, let's maybe take away that Erlang Shen, and you throw an Aphrodite ultimate on top of that as well. Near unkillable for Jingu Bang. Gone to Tahiti. They tie us up here in game number 2. Quick break before game 3. Well, on to Game 3 we go. And Gore, Game 2 brought to us by a lot of the same threats, I think, that Gone to Tahiti had in Game 1, able to capitalize on them here in Game 2. Of course, we mentioned Jingu Bang on the Erlang Shen and how near untouchable he's been throughout this set so far. So I think overall, fantastic look for Gone to Tahiti here in Game 2.
Yeah, and honestly, you bring that back and you'll have no troubles once again. If Jingu Bang can get Erlang Shin, almost to the point where I'm going to say first pick it if it's available for you, because I really doubt that Slaughter Squadron will let it not only go through bans, but then let you scoop it up in picks as well. That has been the best performer. I mean, what was it? 10 kills that it had in Game 1, 10 kills that it had in Game 2. He's had 20 kills total, and all of it with less than 10 deaths on his side. I think that is a pick that is easily tying them together. I know Jingu Bang can play some other things, but honestly, if your Erlang Shin's treating you this well, there's no real reason to change it up. Sops gets a really good pick on the Aphrodite. Sybil gets the early game aggression because of the Hercules. It just feels like they had something for every stage of the game. And unfortunately, Slaughter Squadron just weren't able to reply the way I think they wanted to.
Right. I mean, it started off early. Remember, Sybil piloting the Hercules here out of the long lane, the change from Mando Warrior on Hercules in the solo lane. And it's easy to forget, Gore, as all of the action sort of unfolds here, how Jingu Bang kind of got this ball rolling. He effectively, I won't say sat in the solo lane, that's a bit dramatic, but made his way over to the solo lane a few times, put Cascade a little bit far behind, and started off his snowball pretty early on. He found those targets well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to pick out the targets. Again, you look at Fun Crush, that was one of the few aggressive, I guess, fear no evils we got to see, but how often did we get to see him go in and find a lot of kills? I think once we saw him get a kill, right? And it was at a defense over on the right-hand side. It's just those moments where the jungler really was able to get into the backline. Jingu Bang very consistently able to deal with some high-pressure targets. And because of that, he got to run away with the game. It helped his team. Granted, he had a lot of assistance. It's very difficult to kill Erlang Shin alone. Then you add an Aphrodite behind him and a Hercules controlling things around him. You're not getting to that jungler easily.
Well, Slaughter Squadron in the first pick slot for the first time this set, and they're immediately going to take away that Erlang Shen, and then the Robin as well. So even outside of the Erlang Shen, Jingu Bang drawing band presence for the Slaughter Squadron draft. Persephone, Kuzumbo both taken away, and Maybe not surprising there, Gore. We've seen the merits of this Kuzenbo, Sobek there in that similar category as well over the last few weeks. So I don't necessarily disagree with the mindset of GTT here to take the Kuzenbo off the table.
No Yamoja ban again. But something tells me, Dave, we didn't see her last game, and I just have a feeling that we probably won't see her again this one. And the thing is, so I'm going to do a little rant, then I'll get into it. But realistically, it's just the same things that make Yamoja really good are the same things that make, like, Ymir really good, and that your wall placement as Ymir is, like, the most important thing. Your Riptide placement as Yamoja is one of the most important things, and that's something that just requires grind, right? Hitting the heals, no problem. Hitting the stun, easy. Hitting your giant River's Rebuke ultimate, nothing to it. But when it comes down to placing a Riptide, you've got to be able to have that like good position and good timing kind of deal.
Right.
And I think that's something that maybe these teams are missing. I mean, we saw Gone to Tahiti play it in game number 1, and it didn't work out there. Although I think with an Aphrodite, look, you stack on a Yamoja with that composition, that's really good. So even though I have a hunch we won't see it, lock it in for me. Please, just for me.
Going out, yeah, I'm not so sure here, man. And she's made her way through the first 4 picks so far, and now 5 with Sun Wukong is going to get locked in for the Slaughter Squadron. Nemesis makes her way into the draft here, Gore. Obviously, Fun Crush, you know, a bit off the mark a few of the times with the Fear No Evils. Found a good one there at the end. A bit too late, though, on that one. Do you think Nemesis is the type of pick that can find more of an immediate impact?
Normally I see Nemesis, and I'm thinking, at least for Slaughter Squadron, maybe they want to go back to the Cthulhu, because she's been a big counter to that, although they didn't have that on Gone to Tahiti last time, and they still dealt with it just fine. And that's kind of been where she exists, although Hebo's also good at dealing with her, so maybe there's a little bit of a mix there of we're going to be good with her. She's good set up to kill tanks off, which has been a big problem on the side of Slaughter Squadron, was dealing with those frontliners. And admittedly, she's going to be able to come in and slow people down. Aphrodite, a little more susceptible to that, I think, early on. This would be a good pick for them. And realistically, if you're going to pick something like a Hunbats in Game 2 and the teamfight ultimates just aren't going to be there, then go in for a single target. Like, one-on-one, Nemesis is second to none. She will absolutely knock you down. And so I think this is a good pickup for them. I just want to make sure that it works for them as they get in a game, because she can very easily be difficult to manage, I guess is the best way to word it.
Right.
You can get stuck farming forever and maybe not get any of the ganks that you need to and never show that utility.
You can make your way into the backline potentially onto this Aphrodite for Sops again. Of course, the Undying Love will delay a little bit of that. So you do have that single target big pick potential that was maybe missing, to your point there, Gore, in Game 2. Rom will add to that a little bit as well, something for BennyQ to be able to pour out damage from extra range in. Though, you used the crystals a lot in Game 2, remember, to kind of disengage. So he's going to have to play around some of the other cooldowns a little bit more effectively. A bit of a different swap, though. I mean, you look at the SPL level, we are seeing Rom support, and if you know, still available, whoever the other hunter is, usually, and then a support after that. You know, obviously some different first picks thrown in there, of course, but saving Rom and Ymir for late on, Slaughter Squadron got to be happy with that. You get a top-tier hunter and then a support that I imagine Mineral is comfortable on. I think that's a good way to round out your draft.
You end up with Cupid neither picked nor banned, and that's an interesting dynamic as well, like with Rom going that far down. Hebo first pick has been that outlandish. Nemesis in the top 6, along with, you know, Aphrodite, Sobek, and Sun Wukong makes sense. The Hu Yi,
right,
I think, worked out well for Gone to Tahiti, though, so they wanted to go back to it. The only downside I think this comp is bringing in with it is going to be that this Kali is a little bit, well, just late game, right? I mean, that's realistically the biggest issue for him. I think that's something that Jingu Bang is going to experience throughout a lot of this. The teams, I believe the names up top, need to be flopped around. But BennyQ going to the ROM, very standard, almost kind of outlandish in my mind that comes down that BennyQ is playing something very standard. Mineral, this has been banned from him twice in a row now by Gone to Tahiti. I want to see what this Ymir can bring, because it has to be impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've seen the ebbs and flows of the Ymir up at the SPL level, and the disruption that pick can bring, absolutely strong. So high hopes there. But Gore, I mean, somewhat immobile early on. I mean, that's something you have to imagine they're a little extra wary of. Maybe that Sybil and Diesel, they have a good CC chain, even at just level 2. Mineral will be able to have the freeze, whether he wants to take his wall or freeze at level 2, I'm not so sure. Obviously, you take you're too early on here on this Ymir. So the early pressure may be something that Mineral has to be a little bit worried of.
Yeah, I mean, early on, you know, getting plucked by something like a Sobek is probably a death sentence for Ymir. He's not very fast, right? He's not known for his ability to run people down. Although,
poor
it
guy.
can also be a blessing, right? I mean, it's kind of weird that you land in this area where if you get plucked, maybe you just freeze Diesel and set up BinnyQ for more aggression. I think that the clear that BinnyQ has early on is going to outweigh maybe the pressure that you'll see from God to Tahiti. So that could go either or. And I also think it's interesting because I think that's where the dynamic of this is going to exist. Sops, I don't expect a lot out of early game unless he's getting ganked. I don't expect to see a lot out of Bang for a while. The solo lane's been a lot more active than I really thought it would be early on. I think the duo lane's going to be the biggest pop-off potential for either of these teams to get a true lead.
And we have seen a lot of that, I think, up to this point here in this set. Some mid lane pressure now. Fun Crush reaches level 3 first, so does Nehu on the T-Bow. Very low here is Mando Warrior. Cascade realizing that he is as well. A few too many minion shots and maybe even a tower shot on the other end would result in death here. This is an interesting one to decide how to play, I think. He's smart. Right, blue buff started, Cascade is. Blue buff coming up soon. So you might realize Jingu Bang in his neck of the woods, but if that connects and maybe some more follow-in damage, Mando Warrior might overstay his welcome. But it's such a fun game of chess, I think, to watch. Two low-health solo laners, like who's going to flinch first, who's going to go back first. Because you lose, I feel like, so much pressure if it ends up being you.
Yeah, and honestly, right now, I think it is Cascade that controls everything, right? I mean, being able to sit over here, you still got your foot going, both of them do. They're fine with it.
Man, a pluck just feels so bad, doesn't it? I mean, BennyQ had his beads, but at that point not quick enough to beads out the CC, so he gets chipped down for most of his health. Still has some good health pots in the back pocket there, but I don't know, man. Is it aggro that like really hates playing against Sobek? One of the guys on our team is like way against playing against Sobek and just hates it in every aspect. And I guess I could feel that. I mean, you stand out of position for even half a second, and suddenly that pluck has just got you all sorts of messed up. And even if you don't die and you have no health, I mean, it is obnoxious to play against.
I also think it depends on the Sobek player, because some of them are a little more telegraphed than others. Like, you know, out of nowhere, you can see a Pro League level Sobek, like, that just all of a sudden get a good pluck, right? And then sometimes it's, that guy is literally going out of his way to try and pluck me. I'm just going to wait, okay, sidestep, and nothing comes out of it, right? So if you get a good Sobek on the other squad, which I think Sybil is going to prove to be, it is just frustrating. It's oppressive. Like you said, you're BinnyQ, you have beads, but you get plucked back, and all of a sudden more than half of your health has disappeared in the blink of an eye. You need a little bit more to help lock them down, and that's where the level and this experience is going to start coming in favor. Nothing big over there in the duo lane. We haven't even got first blood yet, which is kind of not typical for the way these last two games have gone. It's been way too slow from what I know out of them. But either way, I think they're in this position where that Sobek is going to cause a little bit too much hurt.
I'm waiting as well. I mean, you look at both of the mid laners and the type of scaling that they'll have. Diesel forced to run away here. Fun Crush's ultimate has landed. Now it's all down to BennyQ on the snipes. The third and the second both just wide, but watch out, Mineral rotating over as well. No beads for Diesel. There's the knock-up. There's the kill. Slaughter Squadron on the board first. Big setup from the rest of the team. Wall nearly gets it done as well, but Jingu Bang will stay alive.
This is the good news. You don't think about this too often. When you lock in the Ymir, things you have to think about. What kind of jumps do they have? Kali can get over that wall, and so can Diesel. But if you force them, and usually it's pretty easy to force them to jump either in or to have them jump away very fast and early in the team fight, that wall comes in handy pretty well. It will easily help lock down Sop, Sybil, and Mando in the late game team fights. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities where you can see walls like that come to fruition. Which is part of my reasoning as to why Ymir is one of my favorite gods, and also one that in the right hands can be game-changing. He's still pretty easy to play around, and I think easy to control, but I do think that his late-game potential to just straight-up deny you an area to, I guess, leave from, to run away to, is solid. And it's been one of the things that, you know, early on in SMITE, and I'm talking 8 years ago, you're learning how to do this, and now if you're well-studied in it, then you can make Ymir look good no matter what. He even had a stint as a solo laner where he's still good as long as he had that wall. You leveled it last, but there's periods of time where you could level it at your first ability, and it lasts longer the higher the level it is, so things like that. Like if you're a really good wall placer, you could ruin people's games with that thing. Right now, it's still, you know, carpet. You want your freeze. You want to make sure you focus on those, but always keep your eyes on the good walls. They're the game changers.
What kind of Ymir dodger are you? I mean, I see Ymir walking at me, my brain turns off, and I immediately just turn around and run away, but it's often prophesized that the proper way of doing it, right, is you run into him, so it makes him turn harder or something, like the cone is shorter right at the front.
Yeah,
is that your mindset?
It's harder to hit the freeze when they're right next to you, and the animation for it is just long enough that usually, as long as you're on like the sides of it, right, if he doesn't have you in the direct center, you can get out of the cone and usually bop him pretty hard and punish him for it if he ends up missing it. There are also like fringe cases. If he hits you on the side, there's a good chance he wasn't immediately prepared for some follow-up damage, so you might be able to get away there. So just rush him. See what happens.
Fair enough.
Don't rush him if you're Diesel.
Right. Diesel not. He will go down. So now 2 kills, both of them onto Diesel, and some damage off of the top from Mineral and BennyQ able to get it done there. So now 1 for BennyQ, 1 for Fun Crush as well. Slaughter Squadron, a bit of a slower pace from what we've seen, but looking to heat things up here is Jingu Bang. He'll go in. That's the Nemesis ultimate dropped on in, and the rest have gone to Tahiti, was quickly rotating over. So I think smart to move away, and Slaughter Squadron will take the advantage they've built, which is nobody over on the left-hand side.
I mean, if you have the pressure that you need, which I thought this dual lane, honestly, I thought there were going to be way more kills, but it's still popping off the way that I wanted it to. If you have the pressure for Slaughter Squadron, then use it, right? Keep Diesel locked down. He's gone for a Hunter. He first picks, you know, this Hu Yi over things like the Cupid and the Rom. Punish him for it, right? Show him why Rom is the #1 pick when Cupid's not available, and or vice versa. Maybe sometimes just straight up the #1 pick. He's a boxer that is difficult to deal with. He has good early clear. His snipes are insane. It's just so fun when you're able to get a pick like this. And again, as weird as it is to see BennyQ on a normal Hunter, he still plays them really well, so you have to give him the respect that is in this duo lane. Give him a good Ymir next to him, which right now Mineral has proven time and time again. He's got the walls and the freeze is ready. It's just a kill lane.
Got the pressure too, just standing there menacingly. Diesel doesn't want anything to do with it, even with beads. So he'll jump away. It's a 2-level lead for the time being, though Diesel absorbing a last little bit of farm. Likely be 1 level behind here as well. Mineral a level ahead of his counterpart in Civil. Fun Crush doing battle with a couple members have gone to Tahiti here, but it's the double dash to stay alive. A losing fight through and through. And Gore, we haven't really gotten to talk about this dynamic all that much at all. But think about Jingu Bang linked to Sops. So then you have the Destruction ultimate to keep you alive. Also Undying Love. I mean, this Kali in the late game is literally going to be unkillable.
Yeah, that's scary. I didn't think too much about that. I just thought how hard it would be to get to the late game. But at this pace, you're going to be experiencing a late game call.
We're halfway there.
I mean, yeah, look, you're 9 minutes in, no tier 1 tower has gone down. There's been 2 kills, as opposed to, what was it, game 1, when there were 12 kills at 2 minutes, or 9 minutes in? So, like, they've slowed down their pace. It's definitely much more methodical in terms of Smite, and I appreciate the way these two teams are approaching it. But it does mean that Gaunt and Tahiti are going to have a small advantage as time keeps going. You have to use this duo lane lead as best you can, but they just don't seem to have the shred for something like an early Gold Fury, so they're not really getting the pressure.
Here's a big fight. BennyQ eats some damage here. Aegis on the snipes, but Undying Love not available to save his life. BennyQ good from range. Jingu Bang pops the destruction here. Fun Crush claps him on the back end of the red buff pit. BennyQ with the double kill elsewhere in the fight. Slaughter Squadron, they've lost 3, they've lost their red buff, and they've lost a decent amount of farm on this side of the jungle.
Now Fun Crush is just hanging out over here. They steal away, like you said, that red buff. They get a lot of kills, 3 of them that get to sweep through. They can start the Gold Fury and maybe a premature wall in all of that. This is one of those moments Ymir has already used his ult, but that's, you know, you don't necessarily have, after a big team fight like that, the, let's call it secure bursts that you're used to seeing out of something like a Hebo and a Ymir. Even Rom, with his snipes, able to do so. So it was risky But either way, I mean, they're getting away with a lot. Not only that, they take that fight, they take that fury, now they're stripping away things like the speed buff and experience elsewhere. If you want to slow down a Kali-Aphrodite combination, this is the way to do it. You've got almost a ticking time bomb waiting for you before you can truly win the game, or potentially before Gone to Tahiti just win outright from their comp. And you're playing against that, so you gotta keep this aggression up.
For what it's worth,
this could be a kill.
Nehu on the Hebo is going to be melting in the late game as well. Jingu Bang, Sops, Mando all going to invade the speed buff here. There's a good knockup from Nehu around the side. Crushing Wave does just way too much damage. Cascade rotates over and finalizes what Nehu brought him. Spinning around as Mando Warrior, trying to get the kill onto Nemesis, but he stayed a little bit too long, and Nehu will pull back one of his own. Gore all that over a speed buff.
And FunCrush gets the speed buff still and walks out alive. He gets kills on top of it. I mean, that I think is just a little too hate-fueled on the side of Gone to Tahiti. Like, take my speed buff, I'll show you. Run into the jungle, and then everyone gets slaughtered. I think Mineral had a really good rotation. You get, I want to say, almost even just baited in there by FunCrush. That was very well played by him to sit back patiently, wait for the Ymir to come through, and the entire time you've got Cascade rotating in as well. It's just the perfect collapse from Slaughter Squadron to reply to that, and Gone to Tahiti are now just enough behind that you're going to feel the impact of that. You really aren't in a position to invade the jungle. If there's going to be a fight, you can try to sneak in and steal something away, but you got to be a little more careful about these engages. Otherwise, you're going to continue finding yourself on the receiving end of the kills.
Gore, you're a genius. I mean, I'm sitting here like Cascade. It's just Cascade. I'm saying his name in two parts this whole time without realizing that his name is just Cascade. That's so much more obvious to me now that you have said it. So a bit of a fumble on my part there, I suppose. The wording of it, I guess, still sounds remotely the same, just a bit blocked up from how I was pronouncing it. But Mando Warrior, that one's easy to pronounce. Dead is also easy to pronounce. And Cascade picks up his second kill of the game. Now Nehu plucked back in, stunned down a couple of times. No chance for the crushing wave. Get back. We'll delete you if given the chance. Oh, look at this wall from Mineral. Are they able to get around the side? No, but the damage largely mitigated here. Big stun around the corner as well. Cascade underneath the tier 1 tower will take to the somersault cloud. And that'll keep him alive. So 1-for-1 trade. Nehu, Mando, both down.
If you've ever wondered why Hebo can look so good in the Pro League and why these pros love him so much, but maybe when you get into your ranked game or a casual game, it just doesn't seem to go the same way. Like, where's the damage? Where he's supposed to go 12-2 or something? What happened? That's why. I mean, it is so easy. You sneeze on him wrong, the guy's dead. It's so easy to be able to find that kill.
Well, don't do that now.
I think it's maybe even better overall to showcase why, at high-level play, he stays alive so long. I mean, look at that. That was easy kills on the side of Gone to Tahiti. Granted, it's only one, so they still have a little bit of work to do. Now you've also got Nehu, who's been able to pick up a shell and upgrade it as well, so it's going to make it a little easier to deal with the Kali, deal with a Hu Yi if he happens to be there, just take a couple of extra shots. Still easy to kill on his own, but I anticipate he's not going to find himself in that position too often anymore.
Nehu, that middle of the damage charts as we stand. Mando Warrior far and away ahead in that damage department, has been pouring in damage to, of course, the Soul Eater built on the Cascade here, so a lot of that has been sustained right on through. It's interesting as well, we always kind of look at the Hebo builds, in the SPL, the Rod of Tahuti, a popular first item to lock in for the Hebo. But obviously, I think learning and realizing as well, because remember, we were wondering if Slaughter Squadron had enough anti-heal in game number 2, but you had the Cupid, you had the Heimdall, they would be forced into a Toxic Blade or something of the like. FunCrush had the Brawler's Beat Stick, but now that you've got that Mage back in the mid lane, Divine Ruin, I think, great value here. I like the pivot. Toxic Blade now for FunCrush as well. I think will do wonders for them in helping in some of that healing department.
Yeah, if they have any form of healing, Divine Ruin's such an easy buy, because it gives you so much outside of just the anti-heal. The anti-heal feels like almost just a little bit of extra for you that comes through. Otherwise, you get to see, much like what Sops is doing, things like Doom Orb have been on the rise, and it could be the way, but right now the damage, that passive's helping him out a lot in this matchup.
This is the way, as Jingu Bang will sidestep the last snipe there from Benny Q. The carpet rolls out from Mineral, and the sun's down from Diesel as well. Cascade from the backline will get rid of the Kali. Only Mando Warrior has his ultimate. But Slaughter Squadron still have a couple as well. Crushing Wave, this grouped up into the jungle, might do wonders for the squad. Mando locked in thanks to the wall. There's the knockup, there's the detonation from Mineral, and he's got himself a kill on the board as well. Fun crushed. Gonna likely dash on in, but Nehu instead is just gonna close the gap, and Sops now breaks down. Slaughter Squadron just sort of separate Gone to Tahiti there and pick him off.
It's one of the best things, you know, we talked about how easy he is to kill, but the other side of it, the best thing about Hebo is you can use your ult like that. Yes, it's a lot of damage that maybe you're going to miss out on, but he does enough damage elsewhere that you're not too stressed about it. Now, starting up this Oni Fury, looking like they should confirm it pretty easily. Honestly, Fun Crush even looking for some kills, and let's talk about that. I think Fun Crush has had such a, like, 180 from the second game. I mean, game 2, I forgot he existed for 12 minutes before I saw Hunbats, and then I was like, wait a minute, where has Hunbats been? And the thing that threw me off was, like, his leveling, there were no ults, what was going on? This Nemesis has been so solid for him, and this has been a very good game so far out of the jungle here for Slaughter Squadron. Definitely something that has helped balance them out, considering Jingu Bang had 2 stellar games to start this set off. Even though they lost one of those, I think being able to finally have some control there in the jungle is helping Slaughter Squadron feel just more comfortable.
Jingu Bang has been blanked throughout the first 17 minutes of this game. Mando as well. Not the same solo lane presence that we saw from Jingu Bang in Game 1 or Game 2 either, so Cascade has been able to kind of spread his wings a little bit as well. The Sun Wukong no longer in the jungle for Slaughter Squadron, but over in the solo lane, working wonders. Mando Warrior will get frozen in. The wall, I imagine, will finalize this kill here. Easy as you like, and Slaughter Squadron collapse with 4. The answer, though, from Gone to Tahiti is a bit of a mid lane push, probably realizing can't get back in time for this tier 2 tower anyway, and final backs will start to roll through.
They're going to go for the Phoenix, though. I mean, they're going to have the pressure to
slow
do
backs.
so, and with a good wall, they're going to be able to get a lot of damage onto it. They might even find some kills.
Wow, Nehu gets plucked in and just doesn't care, does he? Phoenix being taken down here. Be careful, Gone to Tahiti. We've seen games end right around this mark. Jingu Bang in with the destruction. Benny Q up to the sky. Sops does have one, but Front Crush does as well. Diesel one shot away, and Cascade has got it. Sops making his way back on into the fountain, and Fun Crush with the double kill. Slaughter Squadron, they're working their way away. It's technically the deassigned, but Mando Warrior has just respawned. I think mana and health just too low to go for the end.
I don't know, though. They had minions. Yeah, your mana's low. Your health is low. You play it safe, all you want. Yeah, win the game the right way, right? Take all of the proper precautions, you know, OSHA compliant team play here. No, I don't care. I wanted to go. Hold W, kill that Titan. I think they could have done it. They have to wait with them and be able to go, yeah, I got somewhere to be as it comes through. No, I think they're just in control. I think that the only thing that really goes wrong for them in that last fight is Nehu dying, right? But like you said, Nehu doesn't even care about getting plucked because, look at it, it's just aggressive repositioning, right? At this point in the game, when you have this much of a lead, 17-2, you're not getting put into a disadvantage. You're getting thrown to the carries for free. Now all of a sudden as a Hebo, you just know you're going to get the kills. If you're Mando, unfortunately, you just keep getting caught out in your own lane. It feels like there's nowhere that's safe here for Gone to Tahiti.
Yeah, that is, now that I think about it, I'm surprised he didn't just immediately crushing wave into the backline, though a bit separated. I remember Mineral had tossed up a while as well, so the smart play. Again, Gore, we got the smart play, not necessarily the fun play, is the way we got to look at things here. And the smart play for Slaughter Squadron is 50% HP on the FG. Means the Fire Giant locked on in. Fire Minions pouring in that right-hand side. This is an easy group and push, it seems, for the Slaughter Squadron, and Gone to Tahiti are going to have to try their hand again at a defense.
Look, Dave, there's a reason that my SMITE history is a single win in an arena game the other day.
A lot of red,
I was able to pick up. It is all red otherwise. It is a lot of holding W, and just
that's the right way to play, though.
Well, not when you're already behind, right?
That's a fun way to play,
and then my brain sometimes turns off and says, wait, but kill. You're a support. I'm always a support. I never am going to go in and get the kill. I need to stop convincing myself it's going to happen. Either way, I think, like you said, Slaughter Squadron playing it the smart way, and now they're going to be able to get rid of the last tower. A lot of gold that they should theoretically have now after all of these objectives they've taken. They could back if they want to and kind of finalize all of this. And yeah, look at it. I mean, 1,300 is the lowest amount they have in hand. They're going to be able to get at least a tier 1, maybe tier 2 mantle. It's going to be solid for them. And now you're starting to look at the flip side. Gone to Tahiti, 20 minutes in. He'll level 18 there on the Kali, 0, 4, and 2. Maybe hasn't had the impact, but this is where a Kali can start to make a difference. One bad step under a Phoenix with a Kali on the other side, especially having her ult and an Aphrodite behind her, will end the game for you, but not in the way that you want. If you're Slaughter Squadron, you have to be cautious about Jingu Bang now. I think even though you've been dominating this game, that is still a present threat. They're just close enough in terms of level, only 2 down from Fun Crush, that it can still very feasibly get a pentakill on its own under a Phoenix. So do not underestimate Gone to Tahiti just yet.
Yeah, Golden Blade, Kin Size, Hasten Katana, and then the Tier 1 Katana will do just fine for you with Ninja Tabai as well. So I agree, you cannot underestimate Jingu Bang. Look at this, delaying the minion wave so they all kind of crash at once. Small bit of micro play there from Mineral. Get all the minions stacked up and then blinks right on in, looking for the lockdown onto Diesel, but Diesel will dash away. Sybil, no chance to stay alive. Did not even get a chance to use his ultimate. Crushing Wave almost deletes Jingu Bang. Now here's Benny Q on the snipes to try to finalize some kills. Sops, Undying Love, Aegis, both keep him in it, but Mineral patient enough to wait on the back end of the fight. Slaughter Squadron storming in the Gone to Tahiti base. 3 members left alive from GTT. Slaughter Squadron gonna just tie everything up nicely with a bow here, move over towards the mid lane Phoenix, and then Gore maybe over to the right.
I mean, they've got fire minions over there. It's already pulled Mando out of there. Now, Mando's just out of position. This is going to be an easy kill, or theoretically could be an easy kill for them to pick up. Mineral might have to give them the lockdown for him. Look at the damage numbers. I mean, this is systematic from Slaughter Squadron.
That's going to be GG from Slaughter Squadron. They fall in game number 2. But Kali is back in it. Jingu Bang is here, swirling around the damage, but Fun Crush will put an end to the fun. And Jingu Bang, no chance at the pentakill here. What a way to turn around a game 2 loss for Slaughter Squadron. Only Nehu dies 3 times. Everyone else, 0 deaths for Slaughter Squadron. About as clean as it gets, and what's more Hebo than that? You're the only one who's died on your team, but you still done big damage, and you end up winning the game.
Yeah, and honestly, you had to look at the jungler's performance. I think Fun Crush had a phenomenal game. Unfortunately, you know, after 20 kills across the first 2 games, Jingu Bang gets 1 in this one. The Kali never really got to come online. It was the same problem I think that game 1 really held onto, which is the fact that they had a late game composition against a team that didn't need to wait for late game to come around. You're looking at Sops and Jingu Bang. Honestly, even Mando, Diesel, Sybil, all of them feel good in those 25-minute plus fights. But you didn't get to see the 25 minutes, right? The fight was brought to you much sooner, and I think that just slows things down maybe too much for them. And that early game, up to 9 minutes, I think is where I'd highlighted that it felt beneficial to the Kali because she's just getting to farm. But you do sub 10k damage on 4 of the 5 members there. The only person who breaks it is Mando. And it just kind of feels like things got out of hand once again for them way too early on, and they just weren't able to get back into the game.
And I like the way that you kind of recompose there, Gore. I think if you're Slaughter Squadron, you know, obviously you kind of eke one out in game 1, game 2. You know, really nothing's working for you. You hang in it for a little while, but I like the way you kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, draft something that works, and then really blow them out of the water. Gone to Tahiti, unfortunately with that, will fall down to 0-2. Slaughter Squadron improve up to 1-1, so certainly in the mix there. Obviously, some games later on will sort of shift around how the rest of these standings looks, and here are those games. So, Slaughter Squadron not done yet. We will be showing the Slaughter Squadron Winter Dogs game after our SPL broadcast today, I believe. And then Hugs and Kisses, again, fantastic team name. Oh, they're playing Get a Grip, the 2 team names we really locked in on, Core there. They're going to battle to round out our competitive Smite Day here today. So, I think, you know, Slaughter Squadron, they're carrying that momentum into that next matchup, and I like what I saw from them here today.
Yeah, I think they're in a position, and not only Slaughter Squadron, but I'd also say gone to Tahiti, right? Slaughter Squadron, that is a good first step to start going forward. I think if you're gone to Tahiti, don't get used to seeing them down at the bottom of the standings.
No, I
That
agree.
is not a team that is going to stay down there long. I think they just have to figure out the shuffle here for Phase 4 before things keep going forward. Otherwise, they're still an absolute menace. I'm excited to see some of these other teams, though. In Winter Dogs being 2-0, going up against Slaughter Squadron after what we just saw should be a very interesting match much later.
Well, Gore, I'm just now realizing this is really the first phase in the SEC over in North America without Baskin and the boys kind of running things. So,
Yeah, right.
Obviously that roster still exists, but, minus Baskin in some capacity, some shifting maybe going around there. So this is an interesting one over in the SEC to watch, at least in North America. All right, it's 3 o'clock on the dot. Chat's going to yell at me if I hold us any longer. Quick break, and then right into the SPL.